We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello, good morning. Live from Washington, D.C., this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. And breaking tonight, another government scandal. He's only just got started. The Prime Minister facing calls to launch an urgent inquiry into the Business Secretary Peter Kyle after his young lobbyist Jim Buddy, quote unquote, reportedly secured extraordinary access to senior officials. Talking of Burnham, he's set to scrap Labour's flagship digital ID scheme as well. Has common sense finally won over this kind of nonsense?
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Infantino out from 4 quarter football matches, £7,000 tickets, political double standards, and Madonna on the pitch, maybe the worst of all. FIFA has turned the World Cup into an absolute commercial circus. Should its president resign?
have to apply market rates. In the US, it is permitted.
Reflecting and not arresting. Police officers are reportedly being forced to write anti-racism essays. Shouldn't they be catching criminals instead? And no wonder the president thinks this about Britain.
Two problems, immigration and energy. And crime too, by the way. Crime. But you have a crime problem.
The ultimate deterrent. The government says more dangerous sex offenders will face chemical castration. But should it be mandatory?
You do have to ensure cannot harm others, and it is important with medication and the right clinical support.
Good morning to you, I'm Ben Leo and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning, hope you're well. Joining me in the Late Show Live studio this evening in Washington is my panel. Tonight we have political strategist Thomas Corbett-Dillon and the Republican commentator Matthew Hurt. Hello chaps, thank you for your company. And in London, political commentator Claire Muldoon and the Labour commentator Simon Nash. Hello you two, good to see you.
Hi
after
Ben.
5 or 6 weeks away. Oh Simon, here we go. Is this for the third place playoff? Are you donning that?
It is. I was hoping it'd be for the final, but unfortunately Argentina fouled their way to success.
Yeah, weren't we all? England have just some breaking news. They've just wrapped up that third place playoff in Miami. It's full time. Yeah, it's. I won't. Should I tell you the score in case you want to catch up? No, nobody's going to want to catch up. It's finished. What was the score? 5-3?
5-3.
The score's gone. It was a great game anyway. Wow. 5-3, yeah. England officially finished third place in the World Cup. I have to say, though, well done to the England team. Nobody really cares about third. It's 6-4, apparently. Saka from Arsenal got a hat-trick.
6-4?
Anyway, there we go. Well done to England. I'm being told it's 6-4 in my ear. I was watching the game, but apparently it's 6-4. I wasn't watching it too intently. But look, I am, of course, back from the World Cup. I've been away for 5 or 6 weeks, and there's lots to say about the adventure in England. Big respect to England fans, to the England team as well. It was 6-4 to England. We officially finished third place. So, great adventure. But the biggest thing I've learned from the past 5 weeks is that FIFA President Gianni Infantino is a low-grade amateur who, in my opinion, should resign from his position for turning football into a complete laughingstock. If you've got a few minutes, this is his rap sheet. Hydration breaks. In my view, a complete commercial scam that turned football into an American-style four-quarter game for the first time in its 160-year history. This has never happened before. Yes, we had them in Qatar, the World Cup in 2022, but only when games reached specific temperatures. And of course, it's the Middle East, it's hot. This time round, though, in America, we had 4 quarters of football, even if games were played in a stadium with closed roofs and air conditioning. It was complete nonsense. Infantino threw football under the bus at the altar of American commercialism. And, in my view, the greed extends to the World Cup final tomorrow, which for the first time ever will have a 30-minute half-time show to accommodate performances from Madonna and others. Absolutely no consideration for players who will have to undergo a full warm-up again before taking to the pitch for the second half, and who have been used to, again for 160 years, 15-minute half-time breaks for decades and decades. It certainly feels as though FIFA cares about its money, commercialism and Americanisation of our great sport over the fans. Then, of course, we had the Balogun red card for the USA. Do you remember that? Breaking all conventions of previous World Cups after reports that President Trump contacted Infantino. Well, it wasn't reports. He did. He admitted it. He called him up before the decision was eventually reviewed. Now, yes, Infantino says it went to an independent review panel, but viewers and listeners, what do you think is going to happen after that happens? The red card was suspended for a year. Balogun will still serve a ban, but at a later date when it doesn't matter. And just for context, when England's Quansah was red carded against Mexico, he was made to serve his suspension immediately, missing the quarter-final against Norway. How's that fair? And let's move on to ticket prices as well. It was the most expensive World Cup ever, thanks to FIFA's so-called dynamic pricing, which inflated the market and priced out ordinary working-class fans from watching games. I tried to get a ticket to the semi-finals. $6,000 a pop for seats in the nosebleeds. $6,000. Yes, I accept the capitalist ethos of supply and demands, but what does that say about the direction of football when making money is prioritised over the satisfaction of fans? And then the grotty scenes from our semi-final with Argentina. Look at this. It still sickens me. Parading around on the pitch at full time with a banner that claimed the Falklands were Argentinian, despite fans, by the way, being banned from even talking about flags or mentioning Keir Starmer in stadiums. England fans, do you remember that at the start of the tournament? Any flags with Keir Starmer's name on, anything to do with politics, you're not getting in. And if you were caught with one in the stadium, you'd be kicked out. I'm still waiting to hear what will be done about the Argentinian team. We'll see whether anything's done at all, actually, in the same way that nothing was done when Elliot Anderson, the England player, was literally punched in the back of the head in the first minutes of England's game with Argentina. The same Argentina who, in my opinion, were fortunate to even reach the final tomorrow after VAR ridiculously helps them beat Egypt in the game before ours. And if you want to forget all that, everything that happened during the World Cup, well, I say that Infantino should probably have gone a few years ago when he made a complete tit of himself in Qatar.
Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker.
Could you imagine what would happen if I came on GB News and sat here saying, today I feel gay, today I feel disabled, today I feel Qatari? I mean, I'd be cancelled. Anyway, luckily England's next major tournament is the Euros in 2 years' time, hosted in the United Kingdom and overseen by UEFA, the European football organisation that slams FIFA during this World Cup for crossing a red line with the Balogun red card. So hopefully we're in safer hands. Gianni Infantino, I'll finish on this, he's made a complete mockery of football and in my opinion, it's time for him to resign. But in light of some breaking news, as I mentioned a bit earlier, England have beaten the French 6-4 in a cracking game to secure a podium finish in the World Cup. We officially finished third. Arguably, we should be winning the World Cup tomorrow, but there we go. Well done to the England boys. With me now is my panel, Thomas Dillon, Matthew Hurt, and in London, Claire Muldoon and Simon Nash. Good evening to everybody. Welcome along. Thomas, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on Infantino and the World Cup?
Well, you know, obviously there's been, you know, it's been pretty complicated. I think one of my favourite things I've seen is the Brits coming to this country because, you know, the propaganda that you hear in England about how awful America is. You know, I saw stories, people saying, I won't go to the World Cup, it's too dangerous. They've all come here and they realise, oh my gosh, this place is amazing. So I've really enjoyed that. You know, they're excited that we have air conditioning everywhere. I'm like, yes, you know, that is allowed. We could have that in England if they'd let us, but they won't let us. So I think that's been a really good thing. I've enjoyed seeing all the Brits, you know, actually realising this is a pretty good country and, you know, we should learn some lessons from the Americans.
Infantino, though.
You know,
resign. The guy's a clown.
Yeah,
he has thrown football under the bus at the altar of making money for his greedy organisation.
Right, I can see, but you know, I can see the Americans, you know, would have demanded the hydration. You know, obviously none of us are fans of hydration breaks, but you know, they had to get their commercials in. This is the Americanization of FIFA. But you know, I'm certainly not a fan of him. I love every time he comes on the screen. He was getting booed at every single game we were at. But you know, we'll see. It's a tough. I mean, they've been corrupt for years. Remember the guy threw all the money over the top of the head of the. Seb was his name, the other guy? I forget.
Seb Blatter.
Right, that's it, yeah. So they've been corrupt for years. This is not news. They've always been corrupt.
Well, Claire Muldoon, I will say, if the United States, and by the way, they held a great World Cup. The stadiums were great, transport, everything was fantastic. However, if they want to hold a World Cup again, and it's only on the condition that we have 4 quarters with commercial breaks, I say stuff them. You shouldn't be having a World Cup again.
Yeah, but didn't you think, though, that those hydration breaks actually reignited the players? I felt that after they were coming up to the end of it, and it's got nothing at all to do with hydration at all. It is purely commercial, and that was the decision that was taken. And then, which meant every single half was displaced then by about 4.5 minutes, then the extra stoppage time, etc., etc. But the overriding thing for me was every single game that was shown seemed to have Infantino sitting at them. I don't know how on earth he managed it. Did he have a private jet that took him West Coast, East Coast, up and down? It was ridiculous. And to think that this man, this clown, has been the incumbent leader, head of FIFA for the past 10 years, I mean, surely the writing must be on the wall. It's time for him to go, and go pretty soon, I think. And one more thing, I predict that tomorrow's final will be as dull as dishwater, and if it ends in penalties that is, you know, akin to Spain in a World Cup final, I think it would be absolutely awful. If you want to win a World Cup, you need to go out there fighting and scoring goals, and please don't let it go to penalties at the end. Madonna or no Madonna?
I don't care how Spain win, as long as they win. Tomorrow I'm going to open the show wearing a Spain shirt. Vamos Española! Hala Español! Simon, are you with me? Are we all Spain fans this weekend?
I think so. I mean, I must say the last England match was a bit of a wrestling match with a bit of football at the end in some ways, wasn't it? Argentina were appalling in the way they played and fouled. I do actually controversially agree with hydration breaks. Obviously, in boxing, they worked out if you had shorter rounds.
Simon, why?
Well, because then the game's less about...
Why do you need a hydration break in a stadium with the roof closed with air conditioning on?
So you can be refreshed, and it's healthier for the players. Just as in boxing, you have shorter rounds to reduce brain damage. And I know it's less about stamina, and then it's more about skill, and I think it's a good thing. And also, actually, I do remember...
So it's commercial woke nonsense.
Well, we did have adverts in the middle of either World Cup or Euro games a decade or so ago. They were like, well, we need to put the adverts in. Let's try and squeeze them in while the game's boring, and then cut away from the adverts if there's a goal. And it stops that happening. So I think that's actually a good thing.
OK. Matthew. You cannot have the World Cup in your great nation again if you continue with this nonsense, let me tell you.
You know, it's not up to me, Ben. I think you made the strongest argument for Infantino to be out. The thing that I noticed in that Argentinian game is I would have gone full Maggie Thatcher in this situation as an American. The thing that I noticed the most, though, in my limited travels, now, Ben, you were all over the country, but being in Miami and Fort Lauderdale for just a long weekend to meet so many great Brits and Scots, working class people, many of whom watch this program and this station was really exciting to me to see just so many people have come over to the States and visit and thought it was great. People who hadn't been here in decades and people who were here for the first time. It was really a global experience for visitors to the US.
Yeah, you did a great job. Apart from FIFA trying to ruin our sport, America did a great job. So Infantino should go, should he?
I agree with you, Ben, based on your argument you just made.
Infantino out. We're going to start a campaign, GBNews campaign. Well, maybe GBNews might back me, but it's my campaign. Let's get the thoughts of sports broadcaster, friend of the show, Chris Scudder, who I had the delight of meeting in various cities across the US. Chris, I think I last saw you in, I don't know, was it Atlanta? Yeah, wherever, Miami. Infantino, your thoughts on him, please. Can't hear you, Chris. Unmute yourself. Chris, unmute yourself. Chris. All right, we'll try and get him back. Yeah, Chris Scudder was with me, lots of cities across the United States, Dallas, Atlanta. Thomas, are you particularly gutted that England couldn't make it all the way? First time in 60 years.
Of course, yeah. And you know, I thought what was quite funny is that obviously the Americans are all supporting the American team. They love that. But as soon as the Americans were out, they all came to England. All the Americans, I saw so many England shirts around DC. I love that. And of course, we're in the bar and watching the game. And of course, the disaster happens. They all turn around and I say, yeah, welcome to supporting England. You know, this is nothing new. We've had this every single time, you know, 60 years. So they were all pretty, it was their first time experiencing what it's like to be a true England fan. So, but I thought it's been really fun seeing everyone, you know, rally around football. I think football's going to take off in America. I think it's taking off.
Yeah, and just by the way, some breaking news this evening. Penny, on your say, you are absolutely correct. Amazing win over France. Please mention the rugby too, Ben. We beat Argentina tonight in the National Championship final. We did. Get in England.
Wow. Stuff
the RGs, who are, by the way, wearing Maradona's 1986 World Cup kit, a similar kit to try and goad us again. I don't know what it is with the Argentinians. I mean, they are. I'm actually sick of the teeth. I can't wait for Spain to do them tomorrow. Chris Scudder, are you back? Are you unmuted? Hello. Should Infantino go? No,
club is that Millwall Football Club. Argentina's
for
fans. Yeah. Did you hear what I said there? No one likes us, we don't care. That's the Millwall Football Club anthem. You could apply it to Argentina as well, and the fans really don't care. Disgraceful behaviour, I thought, you know, throughout the weekend against England. You know, there are some nice people among them, but you know, when they put that shirt on, they become men possessed and stop at absolutely nothing to make sure that they win or try to win. I think everyone would agree that tomorrow, Spain will have all the support because it's not just England. I was in Mexico, as you were, Ben. The Mexicans do not like the Argentines, and nor do the Colombians, nor do the Brazilians. It's a national
Who likes
trait.
Argentina?
Well, listen, it's a political thing. It goes back, goes back right to the colonial days. But it's just to bring the Infantino thing back in. He really should have taken action before this final about that banner. That was unacceptable. I know it came from the crowd and not all the players held it, but you cannot do that. If you're going to, don't wait till after the final. Do it now. Do it now before the game and make your point, because politics and FIFA do not mix. They should, they've clearly broken the rules there, but he doesn't want to do it and ruin Messi's day. That is not right. Get it right. And, we heard the thing there, today I'm gay, today I'm this, that and the other. Today I am Argentine. How about that? That's what's happened in this World Cup for many people. I know that nothing would make Infantino happier than to see Messi win the World Cup tomorrow. Listen, we all agree he is one of the top 3 greatest players ever to play the game. No one argues with that. He's quite a nice bloke, I noticed he did shake hands with all the England players after the game, but some of his teammates are a disgrace. Enzo Fernandez, good luck to him when he returns to the Premier League in a couple of weeks with Chelsea, because that rabbit punch on Elliot Anderson was a red card all day long. All day long. And they got away with it, and they've got away with a few things in this tournament. So, that's why people are going to be saying, come on, Spain tomorrow.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be wearing a Spain top for the first hour of the show tomorrow. Hopefully, the Argentinians are crying into their paella at some point tomorrow evening. So, Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great seeing you out on the road in the United States as well for the World Cup. You've been fantastic.
Just one thing quickly, Ben. Did you see the game tonight? Did you see the game tonight?
I watched most of it. I was in and out during
Bellingham's goal.
Most of it.
Bellingham's goal at the end was Messi, Maradona, and Pele all in one. It was incredible. Brilliant goal by Messi. Bellingham. 7 goals, more World Cup goals than any Englishman in one tournament. Brilliant. Well done, Jude.
Yeah, Stourbridge proud of their boy, Jude Bellingham. Chris,
Birmingham
thank you so
City.
much. See you soon, my friend. Yeah, from Stourbridge, played for Birmingham. Chris, thank you. Right, let's move on. GB News has approached FIFA for a response to the points raised tonight. A spokesperson has previously stated that hydration breaks are introduced solely for player welfare and that FIFA receives no additional revenue from those stoppages. Regarding the Balogun disciplinary case, FIFA says the decision to defer his suspension was made independently, through its independent board. FIFA has also defended its ticketing model, saying dynamic pricing was used only on selected hospitality products. On the Argentine celebrations and the banner displayed after the game, FIFA previously said its independent disciplinary committee is currently assessing reports and considering the relevant action it may take. Well, there we go. That's all right then. Still ahead on the Late Show Live tonight, police officers are reportedly being forced to write anti-racism essays. Well, shouldn't they be catching criminals instead of getting down to creative writing? But first tonight, another government scandal. The Prime Minister facing calls to launch an urgent inquiry into Business Secretary Peter Kyle, the MP for Hove. I'll reveal why next. This is the Late Show Live. Back in a sec.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News. Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Well, thank goodness that man's gone, but Andy Burnham, his replacement, is set to scrap Labour's flagship digital ID scheme. Bit of a surprise. I'm actually applauding that, but all the detail coming up very shortly. But first, breaking tonight, talking of the Prime Minister. He's being urged to launch an inquiry into Business Secretary Peter Kyle over his reported links to a young lobbyist friend who was granted extraordinary access to the top of Keir Starmer's government. So the Mail on Sunday has tonight revealed that Jaden Watson, who's an American tech lobbyist, brushed shoulders with senior Labour ministers, including the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, at exclusive events. He also reportedly secured meetings in Peter Kyle's department during his time as Secretary of State for Technology, for the benefits of his own clients. So with me now is my panel, political commentator Thomas Corbett-Dillon, Republican commentator Matthew Hurt, and Claire Muldoon and Simon Nash. To my American panel, Thomas, you first. Were you aware of this chap? He's an American lobbyist, described in the Mail on Sunday as a gym buddy of Peter Kyle, although he's some 30 years younger, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But do you know this guy from this side of the...
No, I don't know him at all, and I don't... This is the gist of this. I don't quite understand. They say he seems to rub shoulders with people. I'm like, okay, did he get him a parliamentary pass? Like, what did he do? Or did he just invite him to some parties? You know, I'm thinking there's not necessarily anything too much wrong with inviting someone to a party if he's a lobbyist. You know, that happens all the time in government. So I'm interested to see. I really can't find too many details about this story. They seem to be trying to, you know, maybe this is an attack on old Peter. And I think the gym buddy thing is just because the guy looks like he's got a few muscles. They're branding him as a gym buddy. But I don't quite know what the wrongdoing here is. What is the accusation they're making? If he got him a parliamentary pass and he's not really working for him, then that's a different story. But I've not read that anywhere, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah, and isn't Simon Nash? This is just what happens, isn't it? You have people, you have lobbyists, you have people you work around or have meetings with, and sometimes I don't know. Did he have a? Can you get day passes into Parliament, Thomas?
Well, as a visitor you can, but you can do that to anyone. That again is not breaking the rules. So I really don't know. It looks like he's taken him to some sort of event. I mean, what is Westminster Abbey? Where does it look like they are? They're at some sort of event. There's Ed Miliband in the back. So it looks like he's taken him as a guest. And I think the accusation is that he's taken a young, handsome gentleman with him, and maybe that's a good attack line to go up.
Are they trying to get people to try and come up with, sort of read between the lines of some other story they want to get?
I imagine I like the gym bro is the quotations that they've used, which I think is definitely a hint to. It looks like an attack on old Peter. Maybe someone wants his job. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Claire Muldoon, I don't really care about this. Do you?
Well, it's not a case of not caring about it. I think it's indicative of the regime that we've got elected as our government. Don't forget, Lord Ali was given security passes in exchange for a myriad of clothes given to the Prime Minister. And we've got Peter Kyle here, 55 years of age, mingling with this 25-year-old American who had links to Antinius, I think it is, that was a lobbying firm. And he's now distanced himself from that firm, and he said he set up his own company now. So I would really prefer full and frank disclosure of who goes where, with whom and when, and reasons for that, please. I want it disclosed. I want to know what's happening behind closed doors and from our government that we have elected. Some of us elected that one. I didn't.
Well,
yeah.
It doesn't seem, compared to the sort of PPE contracts of the last regime and sort of ministers' husbands running large companies and then getting government contracts, it doesn't seem like a huge level of corruption. Boris Johnson, of course, had Jennifer Arcuri, you know, this kind of blonde lady he was having an affair with, and who was given access to City Hall and taken on tours. I mean, probably not illegal, and this might well be the same thing. Maybe they became friends or lovers. I mean, he's of age, and did anything illegal happen, or was any government decision or ministerial decision made based upon the friendship
well, that's
or
the thing,
not?
Simon.
That's the real question.
We don't know.
And
that's what I want to find. That's what I think is better to know. And I do not agree with Michelle Mone being given the PPE contracts by Hancock when he was Health Secretary. Equally, I think Boris Johnson is a bit shambolic in his personal life, and anything to do with that is corrupt morally, I'd say. And I think we need that. That's really what we have to dispel here. And if there is anything seedy going on, I would rather weed it out, because we have to take care of the little things before they then grow into huge, big issues. When the writing was on the wall, we could see what was happening, and that's what I don't want.
Well, on the other hand, of course, you know, people do have friends in politics. People do meet in the gym and through business conferences and things, and then say, look, can you help me out with this? And that's completely okay and to the benefit of
Well, it should be minuted. So look what happened in Scotland when there wasn't enough cross checks and balances. It's just seedy politics. I'm sick of it, and I want it.
Yeah, that was wholesale corruption in Scotland, wasn't it? That wasn't just like, oh, a friend in the gym who could be useful.
I guess maybe I'm just used to this, and I should be more angry about it than I am. But I think I'm just used to this kind of thing, Thomas. But just by the way, on Boris Johnson, you used to work for Bojo, Thomas. Any pushback on that?
Well, I don't know if you can say seedy. I don't think he's been accused of anything untoward. I think he just was maybe a little bit adventurous with his choices of spouse, I suppose you could say. But you know, I think in all of the politics across the world, we're seeing this. We're looking at America. I suppose maybe I'm a bit numb to it, because for me this does not seem like a scandal when we've got people here. We just found out that the president's auto-cue man has been putting bets on his speeches and things. So this to me feels like not too much of a big deal.
Oh really? What's that? I hadn't heard that.
Oh yeah. His long-time auto-cue man is on old Polymarket putting bets on whether he's going to say this and that, and he's got to put on the money. He made 100 grand. He's got to give the money back. So he's fine. He's a nice guy. But that's a scandal. That's what we want. This is not a scandal. We took a nice young gentleman to a concert. I don't think this is a scandal. But
should we, Matthew Hurt, should we ban lobbying and lobbyists?
It would be incredibly difficult to ban lobbying and lobbyists. I'm somewhere between Claire and Ben on this issue. I think many of the viewers and listeners would be surprised at just how easy access politics is if you've got a title. I suspect in London and certainly in Washington, D.C., if you show up and you look like you're supposed to be there, if you're wearing a suit and tie, if you're a gentleman and you strike up a conversation with somebody, there is no telling what next event you might wind up at. And so that is just something. I don't think it's nearly as shocking as, say, Peter Mandelson's access to the Russians. But there's something here, and perhaps in the interest of government accountability, we should know. But I'm not too worked up about this.
I think I'd be the best politician, because I just couldn't be compromised, because I just don't like going out or meeting people or socialising or networking or small talking. I'd be great. Nobody could just get me out my underpants on the sofa. Right. Spokesman for the Business Secretary has said Peter Kyle was recused from any decisions related to departmental meetings with Mr Watson, and the ministerial code was observed in full at all times. Jaden Watson has said in a statement, Antinius Advisory was my previous business. Following the establishment of my current company, I discounted work via Antinius and focused on my new venture. That, and not the unfounded insinuation contained in your message, is the reason why the website was taken down. I'm no longer advising nor representing any companies other than my current one. And the government spokesman has said ministers and government officials meet with a range of stakeholders in sectors for which they're responsible. Meetings with senior officials are recorded for public transparency, as was the case here. Right, let's take a quick look at some of the other news stories dropping here in America. The husband of the former House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, has been charged with 2 driving offences after allegedly failing to stop when his car struck a Tesla parked by the side of the road. Elsewhere, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says the Trump administration is seeking to debank illegal migrants as an incentive for them to self-deport from the United States. Is that a good idea? And finally, back to Britain, where 28-year-old Josh Kerr has set a world record for the fastest mile at the London Diamond League. The Olympic 1500-metre silver medalist and 2023 world champion finished with 3 minutes and 42.66 seconds. Pretty nifty, 3-minute 42-second mile, all right for some. Still ahead on the Late Show Live tonight, the government says more dangerous sex offenders will face chemical castration, but should it be mandatory for all sex offenders of all categories? But first tonight,
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Andy Burnham is set to scrap Labour's flagship digital ID scheme. Has common sense finally won? And what do you make of Burnham in his first couple of hours? We've got talks of the ID, we've got talks of the North Sea oil, which we're getting stuck into. Are you quietly surprised? Let me know. gbnews.com/your say. Back in a sec.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think he's a lovely man, but I said, you're really messing up energy. You have windmills all over the place. In the meantime, you have the North Sea oil, and they won't let anybody drill.
Well, get this. This is a nice surprise. Andy Burnham set to fast-track North Sea oil drilling. Is Labour finally changing course and listening to not just the White House, but the great British people? That's coming up very shortly. But first, breaking tonight, Andy Burnham will also scrap the previous government's digital ID scheme, delivering a major win for privacy and civil liberties all across Britain. Instead, the incoming Prime Minister will redirect funding towards improving everyday public services and boosting local economies. With me now is James Chanowski, Head of Emerging Technology Policy at the Consumer Choice Centre. James, great to see you. This is a massive win for those who believe in freedom, the right to privacy, civil liberties in the UK. Just explain, please, James, why this is such a pivotal decision from Andy Burnham.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is an amazingly positive decision by the incoming PM here, because when we were looking at when Keir Starmer had initially unveiled this plan here for a digital ID, it basically amounted to an Orwellian surveillance state here by the United Kingdom, where they were going to go and be able to track everybody's movements and what they were doing, and they wanted to go and expand it. They were doing it under the guise of work, but you can go and see how this would creep into every other aspect of people's lives. So really, it is a hard identification, and especially when you're talking about it being digitally uploaded onto your phone, that means that they have access to all your location history that you're doing on your devices, which means that they literally can have a lifetime monitoring of what you're doing, where you're going, what you're saying online. Certainly we've seen Ofcom go after that when it comes to the Online Safety Act. So I think when you were combining everything together, the digital ID represented a very real threat. So it is a positive thing to see this incoming PM say that he's going to go and kind of put that to the side here.
Yes, Linda Ken on Your Say, gbnews.com/Your Say. Is it Ken or Kenny? Sorry, Linda, I think it's Kenny. Ben, Burnham saying the right words, but beware the Starmer-like U-turns. Interesting point. James, can I ask you, though, some people may be watching this saying, well, I've got nothing to hide. I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't care if the government snoops into my phone or whatever, or, you know, they'll argue that Apple and so on do it already. So what's the pushback on that?
Well, I think that there's a massive difference between what Apple can go and do to you versus what the government can go and do to you. The government has the right to go and jail you and imprison you and take away your access to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So Apple, when they're collecting data on you and they're looking at where you've gone, etc., that's to go and give you targeted ads, stuff like that, which maybe you like it, maybe you don't, whatever. There are ways to go and kind of circumvent that. But if the government has hard access to who you are with your identity for online interactions, they can go and persecute you. And maybe you're not worried about it because the current government in power is probably supporting whatever you're saying. But you do have to remember at some point, certainly in the way that politics usually goes and unfolds, the shoe does go and end on the other foot. And I would be very wary about empowering a government that might be, basically co-opted by people that you don't like, going and leveraging those same powers to go and persecute you for what you might go and say and think and feel. So I think that, yeah, maybe you have nothing that you have to worry about, etc., but that doesn't mean that the government is always going to be in a state where it's going to go and be as forgiving to your point of view and what you have to go and say here on this topic. So thankfully in the United States, we do have a First Amendment, but even here, we've seen the government weaponize against people for things they've said online. So even here in the United States, where we do have those strong protections, we face those challenges. In the UK, you have less protections there for speech, and it's only going to be doubly more, I think, problematic if we let the government have these kinds of powers, which is why the digital ID was so bad, and it's great to see it getting scrapped.
Yep, amen, brother. It was Edward Snowden who infamously said, those who say they don't care about privacy because they've got nothing to hide is like saying, you don't care about free speech because you've got nothing to say. I mean, it's your inherent human right. So, yeah, I'm glad Burnham has, or is reportedly doing what he's doing by scrapping this. James, thank you so much. We'll catch up soon. Let's get the thoughts quickly of my panel. Thomas, just explain, maybe you don't believe in what I believe, but the dark path of digital ID would lead us at some point, I'd argue, to what we see now in China with social credit scores. Your credit score goes down if you have a row with your neighbour, if you get a parking ticket, if you default on a bank loan or something, your score goes low enough, then you can't travel to a different state, maybe you're not allowed to leave the country. Where could it go? I mean, people will accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist, but maybe one day in a couple hundred years it might be, well, if you don't get vaccinated with this latest potion, then you're going to have a credit score of 0, social credit score, and you'll be confined to your house for now until hell. All used through digital ID. Am I mad or...?
No, I think you're exactly right, and you know, I don't for a second believe that they're scrapping this. What they're doing is scrapping the name digital ID that no one likes. It's so unpopular. They're doing everything but call it digital ID. This is going to continue. They're going to move ahead with their ban on social media for under 16s. Well, how do they know that you're not under 16? Well, you've got to upload your ID to the website that you want to go on. So, of course, all of a sudden, they've got your data from those websites. Then you've got your government ID to go on the Gov UK website. You've got your NHS app that's got your ID. They're going to have everything but a unified digital ID, and then what it will be, everything will be in place, and then one day in a year or two they'll say, actually, we're going to do that and it's happening tomorrow. Oh, it's done, too late, you can't complain. So they're just doing this to give him a win. There is absolutely no way that this is a government that do not want digital ID. They are desperate for digital ID. They can't stand these people standing up and rioting across the country and pushing back. It's going to happen. This is just them trying to buy some favour.
Anybody here supports it? Simon, do you support digital ID? Are you upset with Burnham?
No, I don't support digital ID. In fact, I actually was a big fan of Keir Starmer. He said he wanted to introduce digital ID, even though it wasn't in the manifesto, and then he actually seemed to listen, and he stopped his digital ID plans, and then he actually brought it back in, and now that's maybe part of the reason for his downfall. Actually, from a left-wing or a right-wing perspective, it kind of annoys everyone. If you're a much more left-wing person and you think, well, actually, there's going to be some illegal immigration. Now, for me, one person starving to death as an illegal migrant because they can't get cash-in-hand work is one person too many in a dystopian future. And I do think this sort of move towards a cashless dystopia is bad. You do need a bit of a black economy sometimes, and I think if anyone starved to death because they couldn't work. I mean, also, if you're against illegal immigration, it annoys everyone, doesn't it? If you're against illegal immigration, letting people come here illegally and then starve to death because of this digital ID thing, that's not making anyone happy, is it? It's not good for the migrants or people that want to stop migrants either. So it's a really great thing it's being scrapped.
In the first place.
Well, exactly. Rather than letting them come here, then starve because they can't work.
Well, we were told with the introduction of digital ID it was for our safety, because then everyone would be accountable and accounted for. Then we knew that was a load of rubbish. And then it was, well, we're still in negotiation, we're still in, we'll talk to you about it, we'll see how far we can go. Really, for all the reasons that Thomas gave eloquently, I completely and utterly agree. It will lead to your NHS spine records being then stored onto your government gateway, which already holds so much information about you through HMRC, etc., etc. And then the facelessness of it as well. You cannot talk to anyone now in HMRC because most of them are working from home for a start. But anyway, it's really difficult to get hold of someone to sort things out. And they do make massive mistakes. And the other point that no one seems to be discussing is actually the storage of said data. Where on earth will this be stored? Of course, it's going to be stored with a private company. And what legitimate cause for concern are the legitimacy of that and the storage thereof of that data is very, very huge. Of course it's huge. We don't know the safety surrounding that.
Will be on Palantir's American servers, presumably. With
not just Palantir, Simon.
Well, I mean, Palantir, Matthew Hurt, describe to the viewers who Palantir are. They came out in the UK and said they don't want to be part of the UK's digital ID scheme because they have concerns about civil liberties and invasion of privacy. So that's Palantir. Jay, on your say, has said, I'll tell you who we need to be worried about, Palantir. They're gaining access to every aspect of your data. The government's paying them to hand it over. That should concern everyone. They do the NHS. I think they do various police forces, including the Met. But when it came to digital ID, Matthew, Palantir, of all companies, said, well, we're not really interested. It's an invasion of civil liberties.
Everything else except for that. I'm deeply concerned about government collecting data. And what many people don't realize is that when you opt in to use an app on your phone, you are giving blanket permission. We have the right in the United States of against unreasonable search and seizure, and that is a right that protects us, innocent or guilty, from the government spying. And then beyond that, who can then access? Will the Chinese Communist Party have access through hackers? Will Iran? Whatever it happens to be, it's just a very dangerous pathway.
OK, the government has said in a statement, or rather a spokesman for Andy Burnham has said one of the first things this government will do is put its focus where people need it right now, creating breathing space and delivering change they can feel in their everyday lives. That means all the time and resource that was going to be spent on national ID schemes will go instead to where it's most needed, such as helping with the cost of living. The government's determined to bring power back to communities instead of hoarding it in Whitehall. There we go. Right, let me bring you some breaking news, which is just dropping into the GB newsroom. Tate and his brother Tristan have been arrested in Miami, Florida, following an investigation by police into a number of sexual offences. That's according to Bedfordshire Police. We'll bring you more on that story as we get it. So just to clarify again, Andrew Tate, the sort of manosphere influencer, his brother Tristan, who were in Miami, living in Miami recently, have been arrested in the Floridian city following an investigation by police into a number of sexual offences. That's been confirmed by, bizarrely, Bedfordshire Police. More details on that as we get it. One quick question. Whose crutches are these, Thomas?
Mine.
I don't know how they spotted the crutches. Why have you got the crutches?
Eagle-eyed. Well, broken foot and a broken ankle, fractured foot.
Was it an Argentinian?
It was. They were trying to bring me onto the game, but I wasn't good. I couldn't get over that thing. What was the thing the guy fell over, that other player?
All right, stay tuned. We'll get the real reason you've duffed your leg up in a minute. Instead, though, for now, on The Late Show Live, New York Socialist Mayor Zohan Mamdani is plotting to arrest Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he visits the city. What, personally arrest him himself or order the arrest? Anyway, also on the show tonight.
We do have to ensure cannot harm others. And it is important with medication and the right clinical support.
David Lammy is doing something decent for once. The government says more dangerous sex offenders will face chemical castration, but should it be mandatory and for all sex offenders, regardless of category? More on that after the break on The Late Show Live.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power. Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Still ahead on the Late Show Live, police officers are reportedly being forced to write anti-racism essays. Forget death threats and burglaries. Get down to some creative writing and explain why white people are so horrible. Shouldn't they be catching criminals instead? But first, let's delve into some of the main stories on the front pages tomorrow, starting with the front of the Sunday Express, which is reporting that on the eve of Andy Burnham becoming the new Prime Minister, lucky us, the wage bill for Labour's advisers has almost doubled from 6.9 million under Boris Johnson in 2019-2020 to 12.4 million in the most recent financial year. So 12 million quid of taxpayer money on lefty advisers. The newspaper says critics have blasted the government for failing to get a grip on the ballooning welfare bill. With me now is my panel, Thomas Corbett-Dillon, Matthew Hurt, Claire Muldoon, Simon Nash. Again, Claire Muldoon, I don't know if I've gone soft over the duration of the World Cup, but I mean, they're SPADs, special advisors, right? These are advisors who are assigned to politicians. Everybody has them, one or two. I don't know what the wage bill's gone up, but the parliamentary salary for MPs has also gone up. So why wouldn't the wage for SPADs, special advisors?
Well, the difficulty might be that there might be employing more of them. That's the key. And they're traditionally, as you know, Ben, in this country, extremely young people. Perhaps that was Peter Kyle's foil. Perhaps this new chap, Jayden, was actually employed as a SPAD. Who knows? But anyway, £12 million a year on left-wing advisors. I think it's a typical Express right-wing take on things. And they're exposing the cost of having SPADs, particularly young people, in this Labour government, and that is it. So I think it is, regardless of the regime, if it was Conservative or not, I think the bill would still be the same.
Well, Simon Nash, when they're spending billions on asylum hotels and all everything that comes with illegal migration, the welfare bill is going to be £100 billion a year soon. It's just insane. 12 million a year on special advisors for MPs. I mean, it's just there's bigger things to get exercised about.
I agree. I mean, special advisors are a good thing. I mean, ministers aren't always experts in accounting, IT, how to use social media, all of these things.
So, name me one that's an expert in their field.
Well, actually, there have been some ministers of defence who've used to have been in the army, for example, and chancellors have been economics people before.
Send a ship to the Middle East.
Well, yeah, getting a huge arms company to make a giant boat is a large... But if you've got like an IT advisor, for example, to make sure a government IT system actually works. Actually, in the last 2 or 3 years, government IT systems have actually worked. I'm pretty sure...
But that wouldn't be under the role of a SPAD, Simon.
I think it... Well, who else would it be advising? It would be special advisors.
No, it wouldn't be. We don't have a minister for IT. Do you know what? I think they should actually be asking for their money back, because it's certainly not good value for money.
Well, 12 million to save, to make sure an IT system works. I mean, they've spent multi-millions on IT systems that have failed. I mean, the NHS's latest the previous IT system was sort of 8 years and sort of, was it 90 million it cost.
Look at what's spent on test and trace during COVID, that absolute scam. Was it 40 billion on test and trace?
Yeah.
Who filled their pockets with that? Thomas Corbett-Dillon, is there an argument here that, moving on from SPAD slightly, widening this out, that people in especially ministerial positions politicians, MPs, should be from that field, i.e. if you're a defence sec, you should have at least served in the military. If you're a health secretary, you should have had some background in sport. Any argument for that?
Well, yeah, that's the American way, right? If you look at the Trump's cabinet secretaries, they're all made up of people that are experts in their field. If you look at the health, the HHS, you've got Bobby Kennedy who's in there, you've got Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, a finance man. These people, that seems to be the better way, and these guys are very, very smart, much smarter than the ministers in the UK. But on the SPADs, this is one of my favourite things, because one of my favourite pastimes is looking up the LinkedIn of former SPADs. I've been around Westminster for a while, and these people, they think they are the most important people in the world, and I love going on and looking up and thinking, what's Priti Patel's old SPADs doing? And they are never doing anything interesting. They're always working for some horrible company doing God knows what. But, for a while they thought they were the top dog in Westminster. It's very enjoyable. So I remind these Labour SPADs today that it doesn't last that long. You'll be going and finding some job at some horrible company soon. So enjoy it while it lasts. These SPADs, they think they're so important. I can't stand any of them. But what I would say is they should be paid more, because they do hire terrible people. They should pay them much more, and we'll get better people.
I think MPs should actually be paid more. Matthew, your take on this?
This creates a revolving door. What will happen when the Labour government is out and Conservatives or Reform is in? They'll bring their own people in, and then in 4, 6, 8, 10 years' time, we'll see a change. It happens in Washington as well. I do wish that individuals who allegedly had some expertise in their field actually had that expertise.
Yeah, and just as a final passing point, isn't it very telling that Labour's next Prime Minister comes from not the current crop of 402 MPs, but from somebody who wasn't an MP until a few weeks ago? That says a lot about the standard, the low-grade quality that we have in Parliament.
No, he was a minister.
Right, coming up on...
He was a minister. He was a minister 8-10 years ago. I think Andy Burnham was Foreign Secretary, so he's very well qualified to run the country.
Well, 26
Thank
10
you
years
very much.
ago. 10 years. I'm talking about the current crop that got elected in July. Massive landslide, 400 plus MPs in Parliament, and they couldn't find their next leader from that crop. That is indicative of the low-grade crop we have in Parliament.
No, it's just because Andy Burnham is well up there. So, he's run Manchester successfully. He's got a vision for Britain. So, and also Bobby Kennedy, to come back on Bobby Kennedy, is he really... he's a pretty healthy guy, but, he's a bit of a vaccine denier. I know the COVID vaccine was potentially dodgy, but isn't he against all vaccines? So I wouldn't say he's
spent his life suing the pharmaceutical companies on behalf of victims who have been affected by these things. That is more propaganda. Don't listen to that. If you look at RFK's history, he has been consistently on the right side of history, whether it's Oxycontin or any of these things that people are getting addicted to. He has been a great man, and he's doing great work at HHS.
Okay, gbnews.com/your say viewers. More coming up on the Late Show Live. I promise, don't go anywhere, including this.
We do have to ensure cannot harm others, and it is important with medication and the right clinical support.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Live from Washington DC, this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. And breaking tonight, another government scandal. The Prime Minister facing calls to launch an urgent inquiry into the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle, after his young lobbyist Jim Buddy reportedly secured extraordinary access to senior officials. Talking of the incoming Prime Minister, Andy Burnham is set to scrap Labour's flagship digital ID scheme. Has common sense finally won over this nonsense?
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Reflecting and not arresting. Police officers are reportedly being forced to write anti-white racism essays. Shouldn't they be catching criminals? No wonder the president thinks this about Britain.
There's two problems, immigration and energy. And crime too, by the way. Crime. But you have a crime problem.
Deterrence. The government says more dangerous sex offenders will face chemical castration, including paedophiles, but should it be mandatory?
You do have to ensure cannot harm others, and it is important with medication and the right clinical support. And
deportation drama. Perhaps the most unserious politician in Great Britain, Green Party leader Zach Polanski, says Rochdale grooming gang leader Shabir Ahmed should stay in Britain and not be booted out. I'm Ben Leo, and this is The Late Show Live. Morning, hope you're well. Welcome to The Late Show Live. Joining me in DC this evening is my esteemed panel, political strategist Thomas Cobbett-Dillon and Republican commentator Matthew Hurt. And in London, political commentator Claire Muldoon and the Labour commentator Simon Nash. Good evening, everybody. Simon doing his best Gareth Southgate impression with that blazer. Are you feeling Englandy, Simon?
I am, we've got third place in the World Cup. I do think it was very disappointing. I felt genuinely sad at the end of the Argentina match, but actually it's to be celebrated. We have done extremely well. We should be sending a big thank you to the England team, and they have done us proud. And everyone in the England team should be really proud of what they've achieved. It's amazing. Third in the world.
Well done, England.
Incredible. Yeah.
Well done, England. Well done, the fans as well. And we march on the Euros in 2 years. Right, before we go to our main news this hour, let's bring you an update on that breaking news at the tail end of the last hour. Tristan have been arrested in Miami. So that's Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been arrested in Miami following an investigation by police into a number of sexual offences. So this has come from Bedfordshire police, who have said in a statement that charges were previously authorised by the CPS following a file of evidence submitted by its officers into allegations dating back to 2012. Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire major crime units have been continuing to investigate a number of other offences reported to both Bedfordshire Police and Hertfordshire Constabulary. As a result, 38 new charges have now been authorised against Andrew and Tristan Tate, bringing the total number of charges against the brothers to 59. Of these, 42 charges have been authorised against Andrew Tate and 17 against Tristan Tate. Assistant Chief Constable Karena Thomas said in a statement, Officers from our major crime units have been working closely alongside the CPS and both national and international law enforcement agencies as part of this complex investigation. We understand the interest that this case will generate, but we would urge the public not to speculate and allow the legal process to be carried out correctly. GB News will keep you across that story as it develops. So just to reiterate, Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested in Miami. Right, let's move on to our main news this evening. New documents obtained by the Telegraph newspaper have revealed the extent of diversity, equality and inclusion training being delivered across police forces in England. So at Surrey Police, officers are reportedly being asked to write essays on how to create an anti-racist police service, dearie me, as part of DEI courses said to have cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of pounds. So under the scheme, officers are required to submit 500-word reflections on the forces approach to tackling racism. Meanwhile, Northamptonshire Police are being taught that Brexit is to blame for a rise in far-right hate. And that's not all. City of London Police spent just over £190,000 on external training between 2025 and 2026, just 1 year, with officers agreeing to host a listening circle centred on the conflicts in Gaza. Guys, I just don't know what we're doing here. This is meant to be our police forces tackling rapes, burglaries, death threats. Let's talk about death threats. Nigel Farage, hundreds of death threats. Somebody arrested from a threat in May. Anne Widdecombe, just slain. And we have officers sitting down in listening circles talking about Gaza. We have Surrey police officers writing 500 words essays about the force's approach to tackling racism. Northamptonshire police being taught that Brexit is to blame for a rise in far-right hate. This is the kind of low-grade, amateurish, college-style behaviour that we were just talking about in Parliament from MPs. What is going on in Britain? The rot runs deep, and it's embarrassing. Is there any wonder that nobody has respect for the police anymore? Let's speak to former Detective Chief Superintendent of the Met Police, Kevin Hurley. Kevin, I just don't know what to say with this nonsense anymore. I'm just exasperated.
It's appalling. It truly is appalling. This first started way back in 1999, I would say, after the Stephen Lawrence inquiry. And I can well remember an instruction went out that every single police officer had to sit in on lectures about how bad we all were. And I can remember sat there one day watching a female black lady quoting a poem about slavery. And I've sat in this room, probably 50 of us, and we're thinking, what on earth are we putting up with this effectively low-grade, poorly written piece of poetry about how bad the slave trade was? And we're talking now 27 years ago. We now fast forward this now and we look at the Surrey police case, for example. Officers are having to sit there, regardless of what they think, daring not to express their views, and then they've got to write this essay about how bad they all are and how things should be made better by the police on whatever actions they should be taking. I mean, it's absolutely straight, if you like, mind-bending, brainwashing action. We shouldn't be surprised then when day after day we see manifestations of this going on left, right and centre. And I'll give you some examples of what the result of this is. So black on black youth crime in London, for example, is out of control. We see almost every day a black youth stabbed or shot, sometimes killed, by another black youth. The most successful tactic for dealing with that is taking away the sense of impunity people have when they carry a weapon by making them think there's a good chance they can be stopped and searched. Now, the net result of this kind of brainwashing is that police officers think, oh, I dare not do that just in case I get an allegation of racism made against me. And the net result is that many police officers have voted with their feet in major parts of the country and will not stop and search black youth. And they know that they can carry weapons with impunity. They also know that if they're stopped by police, if they start to jump up and down and start screaming racism and so on, the police are likely to back off. Another example.
Yeah, Kevin, how do we sort this out?
So, well, I think you've got to stop it completely. You know, my own view is the entire chief officer cadre of the police service are totally brainwashed and are brought up in this. You know, I went through their strategic command course 20 odd years ago, where they do the final training before they go on to be assistant chief constable, chief constables, and so on. And it was already part of that. And I know on my corps, most people would not say boo to a goose when it came to discussing issues of LGBTQ stuff, you know, various crimes. So the example is the cases of these continual Pakistani heritage grooming gangs. And I'll give you an example how bad it's got. When I was the Police and Crime Commissioner for Surrey, which is an elected post, funnily enough, Reform have just won their first Police and Crime Commissioner job up in North. When I was there, I used to chair a monthly, what we would call county-wide community safety committee, where the chief constable, fire chief, the head of all the prisons in the area, social service, education would all be present. And we discussed the issues and what we needed to do to make the county safer. And I can remember way back, I'm thinking about 2014, saying, can you reassure me that we have not got examples of this grooming that we've seen going up and down the country by Pakistani heritage people, mainly in the taxi trade? Whereupon a councillor, Tory councillor I might add, who was also president, is, you can't say that, that's racist. So straight away a county councillor is trying to jump down on me in front of all these other public officials and say, of course I argued back and said, I'll say a bit more than that. That's insane. Most of them come from the Mirpur region. The point is, when you've got senior level people being subjected to that, it trickles on down, then we have all this training and so on. So I can remember one time I asked the Muslim Police Association representatives to come and see me in my office, and I said, what are you doing for the benefit of the people of Surrey? And said, oh, well, we're kind of helping our members. I said, no, the people of Surrey want you to do your job. What are you doing for them? I mean, the only answer.
I would love to sit down. I'd love to sit down with the Chief Officer of City of London Police, Pete O'Doherty is his name, appointed Commissioner, City of London, the chap who runs Northamptonshire Police, Ivan Balhatchit. I would love to sit them down face to face and ask what the hell is wrong with them, what is going through their minds, and indeed all their middle managers underneath them. I would give me 5 minutes with them. I would rip them apart in 5 minutes and debunk all their silly little arguments about Brexit, about racism essays, about slavery. Britain was the first nation to stop slavery. 2,500 Royal Navy sailors shed their lives, shed blood on the seas all around the world ending slavery. These silly little people, you know. And it's not just some instance either, Kevin, where it's like, oh, okay, well, this is happening, we can ignore it, but they're being silly people. They are affecting the makeup, the integrity, the very fabric of our nation with these stupid ideas going around their head. They're just low-grade people. Kevin, sorry to rant at you, it's winding me up. Kevin Hurley, thank you, appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Let's get... Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Thomas Quebec-Dillon, your take on this? I mean, it's just... It winds me up so much because it's just so inane.
Yeah, and I think you've nailed, you know, most of the arguments against it. I think there's also a bigger argument here that we have to look at is these organizations that are providing this training. I mean, think about these groups. These are obviously extremely left-wing groups that are getting hundreds of thousands of pounds of government money in contracts for these courses that they're providing, whatever, to, you know, write essays. That money is then filtering through to very far left-wing candidates, to other events, to pride things, to all of these things. So what these police, you know, departments or whatever you call them in England are, you know, funding very, very far left organizations. So I think that actually is what it comes down to. Why you're asking, why are these chief constables doing that? Well, probably because they've got a little bit of bias themselves and they've got a friend at this organization. You know, it's the Hope Not Hate and all of these groups that are getting so much funding from these government contracts. I think that's the real problem in here, because that is why So many of these left-wing groups are so well funded because they're getting government contracts. You think any right-wing group is getting any funding from any police departments? No, of course not. You know, none of the Free Speech Union, they're not getting any money from these government contracts. So I think that's a real problem we've got to look at too.
It happened with the trans debate as well. You had charities like Mermaids and so on who are given contracts and training for all sorts of public institutions, and then you wonder, Claire, why these institutions have a sort of brainwashed left-leaning agenda on the go.
I mean, it's just appalling. But going back to where this article has come from, police constables up and down the country in England are going to be asked to write 500 words in terms of how to, you know, de-radicalise things. Well, we know they're going to turn to ChatGPT for that, aren't we? Because I'll tell you now, half the graduates that graduated this summer from British universities, I'm sure have used ChatGPT for their dissertations, etc. But I'll park that and I'll move on and I'll change the subject here. Remember the report of Prevent that came out about 3 years ago and has been updated since, when James Cleverly was Home Secretary. It was found, and it was critically to be found, that the police forces in this country were actually focusing on right-wing factions, like the old, what was it called, United Front or something like that, instead of the number one threat to our homeland security is that of Islamist terrorism. And that is completely and utterly void of any common sense. We want the police force not to sit round and discuss a hypothetical situation of, and I read one of these case studies, there was a car crash with a father driving a son, and the car crashed. The son was taken to hospital. The surgeon said, I can't operate on that child because that child's my son. The surgeon, a woman. Now, that was actually brought in as to a case study to identify to police unconscious bias that women cannot be surgeons. I mean, this is just plain stupid, and they're taking time out.
It's just insane.
And it is absolutely insane. I mean, we should have our police force to govern, to, you know, use force where necessary, but to uphold the law without fear or favour. Now, I don't care about your sex. I don't care about how you identify. You could be Infantino as an Arab or as a trans or whatever. I don't care. If you've committed a crime, I want you dealt with, and I want you dealt with to the letter of the law, regardless of your creed, regardless of your race, regardless of your sex.
Well, that's why it's important. I mean, you mentioned the sort of focus on far-right extremists. I mean, the Southport riots and people burning down asylum hotels, that was pretty brutal and pretty violent. So,
and it was dealt with, Simon. You cannot change a mentality.
Well, I mean, the mentality thing, I mean, you talked about the Pakistani grooming gang thing with the former police officer there. I mean, it's important to differentiate real racism from some councillor going, you can't say that because it uses the word Pakistani referring to grooming gangs.
That's why the grooming gangs didn't come to fruition.
That's right.
And that's why they weren't taken, because of that.
If they had proper DEI training, they would have known that it's okay to focus on a group who happened to be Pakistani. They didn't have the training at the time, so some moron in the council assumed.
Why do you need all
this
stupid training?
Why do you need training for that?
People need training to have common sense.
Well, I think you do. I think a lot of people do have a low IQ. They are in positions of authority, and
they shouldn't be in the police force.
Well, they shouldn't be in the police.
IQ and you can't run a mile in 7 minutes, and you're fat and you're stupid. You shouldn't be a police officer.
Well, we don't need a degree to become a police officer.
Where's the respect? Where's the self-respect?
Well, I mean, you're right. You don't need a degree to be a police officer. There are lots of great police officers.
You do in most forces.
Well, there are unfortunately people that aren't particularly intelligent. I mean, look, when I was at university, I remember doing something with the Islamic Society and seeing them all praying on floor mats. And my initial kind of bias was like, whoa, this is like something out of a terrorism movie. Of course, they're just nice people. They happen to be Muslim. That's how they pray, and it looked different to me. I remember I was in Brixton once, kind of chatting with a couple of black British guys. They were like, whoa, is there a fight starting out over there? And then one of them said, oh no, it's just some Africans talking about football. And it was. It became kind of heated, and it sounded like a big argument.
Mate,
and then
I don't know what your background is. I've never looked at a bunch of black guys and thought, well, just because they're black, they're going to start a fight. I don't know why people need training for this stuff. I think maybe people need to get out onto the streets, be normal people, socialise, go to work and be a normal person instead of rotting their brains with whatever DEI leftist.
Or Ben, what's worse, being told what you can't say and what you can say. We have a country where free speech is practically null and void. If you go outside an abortion clinic and pray, you can be arrested. If you tweet something to incite violence, you can be banged up. It's ludicrous.
One little thing, if you see a group of teenagers in hoodies, you can have prejudice against them. They might just be, that's just how they dress.
You can cross the road.
And also with the police, they were pursuing homosexuals for meeting in toilets for sex, and before that, homosexuality was illegal. So a bit of training around that, around DI would be a good thing, and to make them less homophobic.
Quite an interesting prejudice was the prejudice against Henry Novak as he lay dying on the ground because of these DEI trainings. I want my law enforcement officers to be able to write. I want them to be able to write police reports where they state the facts of what happened, who they've interviewed, and the situation. What I do know is that the data tells the truth, and if police and law enforcement look at the data and make reasonable conclusions based on the data that exists in Great Britain, in the United States, and across the globe, they will make reasonable decisions on how to solve these crimes. It is so important that we don't indoctrinate law enforcement with an overcorrection of, say, 200 years of law. If we get back to community policing, where police officers know the people on the block, the people in the neighborhood, we wouldn't have these kinds of ridiculous problems in DEI.
I've been saying that for years, Matthew.
Well, Stephen Lawrence, there was a bit of police corruption involved in that, but essentially some of the police said it's just a black kid that's been stabbed, who cares, he must have been in a gang, and they didn't deal with the evidence properly, and that was racism. That's why a lot of this has come about, and it has got over the top. But I think, Stephen Lawrence's case would have been investigated properly if we had this back then.
Yeah, I feel like I've gone mad. Actually, I read these stories and I feel like I've gone mental.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what world I'm living in sometimes. So I find it. Honestly, I just don't know how to articulate it either.
It seems as if we're all flying over the cuckoo's nest at the moment.
I feel like I've gone mad and everybody else is living on with some parallel universe where they're writing about how Brexit sparked a far right. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah. A spokesman for Surrey Police said the police's foundation training includes lessons on culture and inclusion and on hate crime as guided by the overarching training curriculum for the new officers laid out by the College of Policing. A Northamptonshire police spokesman said, "We're committed to ensuring their workforce has the knowledge and the skills required to serve all communities fairly, effectively and in accordance with the law. The training materials referenced are designed to support staff in understanding equality legislation, recognising bias and delivering services that meet the needs of our diverse communities." It goes on to say, the materials reference trends observed in relation to the growth of far-right groups in the UK and Europe since 2016 and include reference to the EU referendum as part of that timeline. However, the material does not state that the referendum caused those trends. A City of London police spokesman said, "Ensuring our officers are educated and understand the social issues they encounter every day to remain aware and impartial is important. By continually developing our knowledge, we are better equipped to make informed decisions, maintain public confidence and provide the highest standards of service to everyone." Great. Hope everyone's well at home. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live. Green Party leader Zach Polanski says Rochdale grooming gang leader Shabir Ahmed should stay in Britain. Does that sound like a serious politician to you? But also tonight,
because I think he's a lovely man, but I said, you're really messing up energy. You have windmills all over the place. In the meantime, you have the North Sea oil, and they won't let anybody drill.
Drill, baby, drill. Andy Burnham set to fast-track North Sea oil drilling. Is Labour finally changing course and listening to the man in the White House? This is the Late Show Live. Back in a sec. Breaking tonight, the Justice Secretary has reaffirmed plans to expand the use of chemical castration for the most dangerous sex offenders in prisons across England. Shabana Mahmood first announced the policy in May 2025, confirming the scheme would be extended from 4 prisons to 20 as part of a wider strategy to tackle serious sexual offending. Speaking to The Sun, though, David Lammy has now insisted the policy remains on track.
Your predecessor as Justice Secretary pledged to look at the mandatory chemical castration of sex offenders. Is that still being looked at, or have you abandoned it?
Absolutely not abandoned it. It's still a central platform. And in fact, we've extended the areas in the country where this can be done. There are a group of very dangerous individuals who we do have to ensure cannot harm others. And it is important with medication and the right clinical support that these individuals are kept under control.
Good news, absolutely not abandoning it. And yeah, from 4 prisons to 20. With me now is political strategist and podcast host Tiffany Marie Brannan. Tiffany, good to see you. Hope you're well. And also former Solicitor General Robert Cox is here as well. Good to see you both. Thank you for your company. Tiffany, I'll start with you. Is it moral to castrate sex offenders, particularly paedophiles?
Yes, I think so. I think bring it on. I mean, Ben, you have to remember, this is not new, right? The Danes, back in 1929, passed the Danish castration law that did effectively the same thing. From 1930 to 1968, over 400 criminals voluntarily chemically castrated themselves who had been convicted of sexual crimes and deviancy. And here in the States, we have great laws that have been coming into pass, and they include California, actually, as woke as it is. They have passed, mandatory chemical castration. They were the first state to actually do it for repeated offenders. And Louisiana, just in the last 2 years, passed the first time ever that a judge can hand down a sentence that involves physical castration. So I think that the rape of children in the UK is out of control. According to the rape crisis of England statistics, 1 in 6 children in the United Kingdom will be a victim of a sexual crime. That is way, way, way too many, and something must and should be done to protect these kids.
OK, Robert Courts, thank you for your company, former Solicitor General. Your take on this? Labour not backing down, David Lammy insisting they are going ahead to expand these plans.
Yeah, exactly. As we've just been covering there, this isn't something that is new. It's something that's been considered in the UK, but has taken place in other places in Europe and indeed across the States. Even in California, for example, that's a policy that has been there for some time now. So it's something that the evidence base is being built for. Clearly, no one will have any sympathy whatsoever for the people who perpetrate these disgusting crimes. And as we've covered already on the programme here, steps need to be taken to prevent harm to children, and very few people throughout the country will take any pause at the toughest measures being taken against them.
Robert, is there any counter argument to this? Have you heard anything from any, justice groups or anybody who's saying that no, we shouldn't be castrating human beings?
There will always be an ethical, moral argument from some, particularly where we get to the stage of compulsion. But it's important to note that that isn't actually what's being discussed here in any event. This is called castration because it's an easy to understand term, but in reality it's medication. And what's being talked about here is only voluntary. So what essentially is being talked about here is a voluntary program, which is about managing risk on release. The really big danger, in fact, I think that we ought to just ensure that the government doesn't slip out here, is that this is seen as an easy way to release people early. In other words, that it is seen as a form of punishment. It isn't that at all. This must sit alongside proper punishment, and it can be used to reduce the risk of reoffending for the most serious crimes, and that's fine, it can have its place there, but we mustn't be duped into thinking that this is in place of punishment. It won't work for that.
Interesting. Tiffany, my take on harming children, particularly sexually abusing them of any nature, is just capital punishment. I say bring back the death penalty.
Hey, you can go to Utah. They're doing firing squads now. So I'm hoping that Tyler Robinson, once he's convicted of killing Charlie Kirk, has to face that, punishment. But, he... Absolutely correct. I think Shabana Mahmood is not a stupid woman. She's very smart. And I think that the pushback from the Conservatives that I've seen in the UK has said the exact same thing that we just said, whereas this could be an easy cop-out for releasing more criminals back on the streets and just slapping them with medication. we need to know who's going to follow up to make sure they're getting their medication. We already know what the criminals are doing in the UK that are going unvetted and unchecked. We already know that there's very little oversight in the UK for people once they have gone back out into the general population. So if this is really something that is being enacted in the United Kingdom, we need to make sure it's followed through. We need to make sure there's accountability and responsibility on the government and on the justice system for making sure these people do not reoffend. And, if I had my way, I would put them in front of a firing squad too, Ben.
Robert, last word to you very quickly, if you don't mind. Will we ever have a serious conversation about the return of capital punishment again in the UK?
I think we will one of these days. I mean, Ben, you've just expressed the view that for many, many years, the majority of people in the UK have supported. And I think as the level of disgust rises over these sorts of crimes, I think that moment is going to come where that conversation happens again.
OK, great conversation. Thank you both. Much appreciated. Tiffany Marie Brennan and Robert Courts, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Let's get the take of my panel. Thomas Cobbett-Dillon, Matthew Hurt, Claire Muldoon, Simon Nash. Matthew Hurt, what should we do with paedophiles?
Well, I think Robert Courts made a couple of excellent points. If you dig down into this story, this is an opt-in program, and it tends to include SSRIs or testosterone reduction. I think it is wildly popular and appropriate to punish pedophiles to the fullest extent of the law, what is allowed for them. I'm a little concerned that chemical or even physical castration doesn't actually solve the issue. If this is a deep mental issue, then you're actually just eliminating a symptom rather than solving the entire thing. I think that this is in conjunction and should be in conjunction with much longer sentences. These are detestable individuals. It is absolutely awful to commit crimes like this against children, and they should be punished to the fullest extent that a Western civilization would allow.
Thomas, Glynis has said on your say, chemical castration is a complete dead cat tactic. It's to try and placate the public for all the sex offenders they're letting out, like the mental health, schizophrenia treatment. It's only effective as long as you take the meds. Offenders will just stop taking their meds.
Yeah, and you might be surprised, I'm actually very much against this. There are two reasons. I first of all do not trust this government at all on this, and second of all, I think this is a slippery slope, because what I'm hearing here is the implication that they are unable to stop themselves, that the paedophilia, and as you've seen on the left, they are very much pushing, the very far left, pushing this idea that paedophilia is an identity or a sexuality. So what you're saying here is that, well, I wasn't castrated, therefore I couldn't stop myself. I needed the treatment to stop, being a paedophile. I don't think that's true. I think you're giving these people a cop-out for them to go and, you could argue in court and say, well, I hadn't been treated, Your Honour. I couldn't stop myself. I think that is completely wrong. I don't think we should be giving these people a way out of this at all. And I don't think that, I think a lot of people on the left we see over on Blue Sky and all these things, they're pushing, this is the big thing now, they're pushing that paedophilia is, an acceptable sexuality as long as you don't act upon it. I think we have to make sure we stamp this out from the beginning. There is no treatment for this. This is not something that needs to be treated. It is completely unacceptable, and I don't think give these people any cop-out. What, you're going to meet some guy on the street and he said, oh, before I was treated, I was a paedophile. No, absolutely not. We cannot let these people get anything to, give it a medical reason for it. There is no excuse for this.
Yeah, what do they call it? Some of the, I mean, it's not all the left, it's a minority, far left who call it a minor attracted person.
That's right, yeah, MAP.
Yeah. It's just sick. They're sick in the head. Claire, any thoughts?
Well, I'm against mandatory castration for a myriad of reasons, but moreover, the expert opinions have been quite evidential in what they've said after 15 years of psychiatry, etc., and more than that. They've said that castration alone is not good enough and will not stop reoffending, harming children, because that's what paedophiles do. The only way to do it is in tandem with some cognitive behavioural therapy and medication. Whilst I would love to remove them from the face of the earth, unfortunately, we can't do that. And because of what Thomas had said as well, they will be using, I didn't get castrated, I didn't get the medication, so therefore it's given me licence and legitimate reasons to then reoffend. It's just shocking, but we have to have the discussion, and I'm glad we're having the discussion, and it's one of the only decent things I've ever heard coming out of David Lammy's mouth. Long may that continue.
Yeah, I mean...
Simon, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, it does sound all very like Handmaid's Tale. Paedophilia is an awful thing. I think this should be very defined to very serious harm to actual children. I mean, if an 18-year-old went out with a 15-year-old, that could be classed as paedophilia on a technicality. I mean, I don't think anyone would really say that.
It's not technical, it is.
Well, should they be castrated with a 3-year age gap when both have reached sexual maturity in some cases? I think that would, exactly, it'd be a slippery slope, wouldn't it? And then, of course, if you had a more far-right Christian government, they might say, well, pseudo-Christian, well, homosexuality, that's a sin. And Alan Turing was chemically castrated. So it should be like real harm, real rape, the people that perpetrate that, rather than
real rape. What's the difference? What's not a real rape?
Well, in America, the age of consent's 18. So if a 17-year-old went with a 19-year-old,
I don't know where you're getting your views tonight.
That could be classed as a chemical castration offence, which would be bonkers and wouldn't be the case in English law. But you need to be very careful with
it wouldn't be a paedophile offence. Paedophilia, by definition, is something like, I think, it's something like, it's prepubescent. It's like 10
true.
or 11 or 12.
True. Yeah. Well, exactly. If that's the case, then it seems like more like a reasonable law. But you know, some people on the internet saying the age of consent should be 25 because that's the age of mental maturity. So we need to be wary about giving the government the rights to. As I understand it, there are these people who've committed these awful crimes, and they say, I just can't help having these urges, and therefore they consent to taking this medication, and it reduces those awful urges, and then then that's kind of good all round. But again, with the death penalty, we need to be very wary about giving the state the ability to do this. And again, sexuality is just a sort of genetic luck in a way. I'm lucky to only find adult women attractive, and if someone did have these weird urges, then say it again, sorry?
Do you think people are born with an attraction to children?
I don't know. I wonder if it's a mixture of like wanting to dominate people and psychopathy more than anything. I don't know. If it is a genetic twist, then the medication to help them with that.
Do you think you're born, Claire? Do you think you're born a pedo?
I mean, do you know what? I've not actually thought about this disgusting question. You just don't know. It's the whole thing about nature versus nurture. All I do know for a fact that it's an evil, evil thing, and it's an inherent thing in some predominantly men. There are women who have done absolutely horrific things to children, and you can call it what you want. The name is paedophilia, and that is wrong on so many levels, and we have to stop it and stamp it out. I mean, can you castrate a female? I don't know.
I mean, one thing, I think people should be taught more about why it's wrong and the harms. Like Michael Jackson in Leaving Neverland. the kids that said that they abused him. Like, they really had a lot of harm in later life, and it caused a lot of hurt and upset. And I just people that are that way inclined need to know that there is real harm that's being committed, and I suspect that's not.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it. I think it's a serious question to ask ourselves as a society. Is it as a result of environment, or are you born that way? Maybe that has a reflection on the policy, the way you deal with these disgusting people. Like I said, I say bring back the death penalty. Anyway, let's take a quick look at some of the other main news stories here in America. The husband of the former House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, has been charged with 2 driving offences after allegedly failing to stop his car when it struck a Tesla parked by the side of the road. Elsewhere, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, says the Trump administration is seeking to debank illegal migrants as an incentive for them to self-deport from the United States. Would you back that in the UK? And finally, back to Britain, where 28-year-old Josh Kerr has set a world record for the fastest mile at the London Diamond League. The Olympic 1500 silver medalist and 2023 world champion finished a mile in 3 minutes 42.66 seconds. Still ahead on the Late Show Live, New York Socialist Mayor Zoran Mamdani is plotting to arrest Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he visits the city. More details on that in just a second, but first tonight.
Because I think he's a lovely man, but I said, you're really messing up energy. You have windmills all over the place. In the meantime, you have the North Sea oil, and they won't let anybody drill.
Wow, has Andy Burnham been listening to President Trump in the White House because he's set to fast-track North Sea oil drilling? Is Labour finally changing course, especially after the digital ID U-turn, and listening to the people of Britain and the White House? And this is The Late Show Live. Back in a sec.
warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of sunshine in the forecast today, a little warmer than what it was yesterday for some areas and still staying very dry. There'll be some scraps of cloud in places, mostly moving in off a northerly breeze around any eastern coasts. It may produce some very light outbreaks of rain, especially around coasts of East Anglia. Some light rain pushing into northern Scotland towards the end of the day, and enough heat still across the southwest may produce some showers. They could be heavy, they could be thundery, but mostly hit and miss. For many areas, it's a dry, sunny day, feeling warm in the sunshine, highs widely in the low to mid-20s. So cloud will continue to feed in from the north through the evening, still producing some light outbreaks of rain across northern Scotland, the best of the brightness and the temperatures across southern areas of Scotland. Quite a clear end to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some late evening sunshine to finish off the weekend, and a very similar picture elsewhere. It remains fairly dry and clear through the overnight period as well, but in that northerly breeze we will drag in some cloud moving its way southwards, and still thick enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain across Scotland. But for many areas it's going to be dry, and where we saw a slightly chillier start this morning across Scotland, northern parts of England, it's not going to be turning quite as cool here. Most towns and cities between around 12 to 16 degrees Celsius. Now heading into Monday, there's really not much change at all. Still very dry, lots of sunshine around. Still eastern coast of Scotland and England could pick up some cloud and some very light showers, and northern Scotland will pick up some light outbreaks of rain as well. Otherwise, another very dry day and still feeling very warm in the sunshine. Highs reaching between 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Green Party leader Zach Polanski has once again sparked controversy over the convicted grooming gang leader Shabir Ahmed. Take a look at what he said.
I don't think we should be making these on a case-by-case basis. I think we need to have consistency and also make sure we stick to the rule of law.
So I'm not sure, would you deport him and go by any means necessary or not?
Well, as I say, that would require a threat assessment, and if he is still a threat, then he shouldn't be out of prison at all.
Well, the victims say he is a threat.
Right, and he committed those crimes in Britain, so it makes sense to me that as a British citizen, he stays in a British prison.
I mean, I don't know why Ahmed needs a threat assessment, according to Polanski, because he was jailed for multiple child rape and trafficking offences. So Zach Polanski says we need a threat assessment, again, I'll clarify, for a guy who was jailed for multiple child rape and trafficking offences. This is the leader of the Green Party in the United Kingdom. He says a paedophile, child rapist and trafficker needs a threat assessment before deciding whether he'd deport him. Again, viewers and listeners, I feel like I've just lost my nut. I feel like I'm going mad when I see what's happening in this country sometimes, and the kind of people, the kind of low-grade amateurs who are leading the charge in Britain. Ahmed was stripped of his British citizenship but remains in the UK after Pakistan refused to accept him. The government says it's working to change the law and increase diplomatic pressure to secure his deportation. Thomas Corbett-Dillon, what would Trump do if Pakistan refused to take back a filthy, vile, disgusting child rapist trafficker?
Right, well, I mean, he certainly wouldn't have sent, what did they send him the other day, £150 million for, trade or whatever? Some
more foreign aid, I think.
Yeah, foreign aid. He certainly would have held that back. I mean, that would have been the simplest thing, right? I mean, that probably would have been the deal done if Pakistan were like, hey, we're going to lose our funding here, let's just bring this guy, put him in jail, what do they care, right? But, they're not good at playing the game. This is the problem with this government. So yeah, I mean, and once again, as you said, I'm like, look at who is this guy? He can barely speak. He's doing a media interview. And
Polanski.
Yeah, well, he's like the leader of the party. Like, what is going on? Where are these low-grade politicians coming from?
It's insane.
We've got these complete losers. And then I look over at America, and, you know, even to give the Democrats credit, they've got some good, smart guys on their side. And we in England just seem to have complete idiots on all sides, and it just upsets me. So I don't even know why we even listen to this guy. He's obviously not smart. He should be nowhere near power. But, you know,
he's tanking in the polls as well. Matthew, did you know, you probably won't know this, Zach Polanski, the chap we just had on there, maybe we can get his picture back up. He, in yesteryear, before he got involved in politics, he hypnotised women to try and insist he could increase their bra size.
That is quite fascinating, but I would suggest, you know, there's a prison in Ecuador or someplace in Central Africa where you could drop Mr. Ahmed. I'm certain that there would be a government that would take him for a few pounds.
Give him to the Americans. They'll take care of him. You know, that's what we should be doing.
But going back to Polanski for a second, I made that point, well, not really in jest, it's serious because it's indicative and reflective of the kind of people we have in power. We have a guy who used to be a Lib Dem, then he, prior to that, he was hypnotising women, telling them he can increase their breast sizes, and now he's the leader of a party in the UK, which, according to some polls, has been gaining a little bit of support.
Well, and they are getting support, peeling off younger voters from the Labour Party and those young idealistic leftists who are looking for an alternative. And so the cool thing about politics in either country, Great Britain or the United States, is that almost anybody could run for anything, and I think that's kind of interesting. But to have this gentleman lead a party, I think, is a wholly unserious thing. Might as well put a bin on his head.
Right, but I mean, they're not even green anymore. I don't understand that the Green Party. I haven't heard him talk anything about the environment anytime soon. They seem to be more interested in defending these like Islamists. So,
well, when the Green Party won power in Brighton and Hove City Council, they were the first Green Council in the UK maybe 15 years ago. They had the worst recycling rates in Europe. Of course. So even if you want them to do the green stuff, they probably won't be doing it properly. With me now is former advisor to US House of Representatives on British Affairs, Lee Cohen. Lee, again, I ask you, what would President Trump do if Pakistan were refusing to take back one of its child rapists?
Well, thanks for having me, Ben. The early release of the depraved ringleader of the Rochdale grooming gang is a damning indictment of a political class that's lost the plot. This monster spent years raping and trafficking British girls as young as 13. Now he's back on the streets after serving just part of his sentence. And what does Zach Polanski say? It doesn't make sense to deport him. What an absolute disgrace. He'd rather tie up Britain in legal knots and protect a child rapist than protect British children. That's contempt for the British people, pure and simple. Ahmed came to Britain as a teenager on Britain's generosity and goodwill. He repaid that goodwill by orchestrating the gang rape of innocent girls. Even Pakistan doesn't want him back. They're washing their hands and blaming Britain. And even now, Shabana Mahmood is talking about changing the law, which is right, but this should have been done years ago. And to get back to the first question you asked me about what President Trump would do, when the world hears this twisted reasoning like from people like Polanski, is it any wonder that President Trump and other American politicians are sounding the alarm about Britain's trajectory? This is the rotten fruit, Ben, of failed mass migration, multiculturalism, and institutional cowardice. Above all, Britain has to start putting its own people first and stop importing problems from culturally incompatible parts of the world.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it makes sense to normal people with common sense like, me and you, but again, I don't know what's going on with our political leaders. Sometimes, have you ever seen The Truman Show, that film with Jim Carrey, where, have you seen it, Lee, The Truman Show?
I have done, yes.
Yeah, I feel like my life is like that sometimes, where everybody's just playing a big old joke on me.
I mean, we're all actors.
And you're all actors. Yeah, Lee, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're all actors, and somehow you're all just having a massive laugh at me by rolling out the most insane news stories, the most inane political leaders. Claire Muldoon, Simon Nash, are you in London? Claire, what's your take on Zach Polanski? Doesn't want to deport a sick Pakistani child rapist?
I mean, Zach Polanski, I mean, talk about being green. He blows with the wind, really, doesn't he? And did anyone see the pictures of Burnham when he was still mayor, before he's now going to be our Prime Minister? He ran every day, but the only thing that seemed to increase not only was his popularity, but were his moobs. I think he was running to Zach Polanski's office to get some increase there and some girth. But back to this disgusting
we shouldn't body shame, Claire.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm certainly in no position to do that. I identify as a size 10 every single day of my life. But back to the victim impact statements of these child rape gangs, this horrible slight on our country, really, Ben. And this horrible man, all we have to do is keep referring back to the victim impact statements of these girls, of what he did to them, what he enabled that to happen to them. It was just disgusting. And for us to strip him of his nationality, he's got dual nationality. If Pakistan want to do that, I don't think it's legal for them to make them stateless, like it's not illegal for us to make anyone stateless. They should really take him back, and he should go back, and he should have yet another imprisonment or be held responsible in a disgusting way for what he has done to the girls in this country. And one more point, the other difficulty in all of this conversation about him is another woman I'm going to name, Shabina Mahmood, Shamina Begum, because what's now going to happen is, if we say he has to go back to Pakistan, other people will say we have to take Shamima Begum back, and I don't want her back because I think she is a terrorist.
Well, I don't want her back either, but I think it's slightly different, wherein that she was born in the UK, I think, and she didn't have dual citizenship. She's just British, as opposed to being Bangladeshi. But, I don't want her back anyway, so it's kind of besides the point. Simon, what's your take on Polanski? Do you want this man deported? Should he be allowed to stay in Britain?
Well, yes, I would like him to be deported. I think this is a legal question, to play devil's advocate for a moment. So you've got this 1971 Commonwealth law, which apparently means he can't be deported. Parliament needs to go through the process of changing that law. Or you could say, look, let's pass a law saying the Home Secretary, if someone's committed more than 2 rapes or a certain type of paedophile crime, then the Home Secretary then has the power to deport someone. That would be the law to pass to make this happen. Another issue is this guy had a 22-year sentence, so he should be out of prison in 2031. There's an argument that maybe his punishment should have been deportation, and the judge would be the one to decide that and impose that. This guy's got a 5-year discount on his punishment. He should be out of prison in 2031, just doing the maths there. Why has he got a 5-year discount on his prison sentence? Did he sort of not harm any children whilst in prison or something? I mean, that's another bonkers aspect for this. Where Zach Polanski is coming from, in a democracy, we have the judiciary separate from Parliament and then a free press. So for politicians to kind of interfere in the judiciary and the sentences passed, we don't want to end up like Russia, where any political leader can just say, this criminal I don't like, give them a harsher sentence. We need to do this in a legal way, and perhaps look at introducing rules that give the Home Secretary more power, because that currently isn't the case. So you can't just have a case by case.
Did it during the Southport riots. Starmer did it during the Southport riots. He came out and said that anybody involved will feel the full force of the law. Lord Hermer was on it as well. Everybody, they were arguably committing contempt of court. Keir Starmer did it the other day with some. I can't talk about it because it's an active case, but he always comes out on Twitter and X and talks about how people are going to feel the full force of the law before they've even been charged.
Well, the full force of the law would be the law. I do think it's unfair if a politician puts pressure through the Solicitor General to increase, to then pressure judges to increase sentences. I do think that's wrong. So it works both ways.
Yeah. All right, interesting. gbnews.com/your say. Let me try and get through some comments. Tammy, you said the 1970s agreement doesn't allow for heinous crimes to be committed by these people. That should override any legal jurisdiction. Ava said no, he had bad conduct whilst in prison as well, and they still let him out, this guy, Ahmed. Michael said, what happened to the one striker and they're out? Labour didn't stick to that one. Beverly said, my uncle was convicted and let off because he served in the Navy. He'd been making films of kids. He should have been jailed for life. Sorry to hear that, Beverly. Terrible. What else? George, Andy. Did I just interpret that as Zach Polanski offering a room to Shabir Ahmed? Oh, I didn't think so. Okay, more about Polanski. Lynn said it's an early trap, Ben, to lull people into a false sense of security. Digital ID will still happen, and I highly doubt they will drill. Keep focused, people. And Thomas, do you think it's a false sense of security, this sort of Labour U-turning, Burnham U-turn on drilling, digital ID? Is he just trying to throw some red meat to his critics?
Of course. I think that the simplest way to look at this is that the establishment's puppet became very unpopular, so they said, well, let's get a new puppet. So they've got this shiny guy who's got a northern accent and a little cartoon character as his profile picture, and all of a sudden he's the saviour. He's not. He's exactly the same. He's the new puppet. They're just going to, reshuffle things, make everyone forget how unpopular they were, and they're doing the exact same thing.
If he's a puppet and Starmer's a puppet, who's pulling the strings?
Well, I think it's the Labour establishment. It's, all these people. I think Tony Blair is still very much involved. I think all of these people that have been around for a long time. It's the Miliband. You've got David Miliband, who's here actually running some NGO and doing that. All of these Labour people are around. This is new Labour have taken back control of that. It's certainly not the Corbyn side. They seem to have been pushed out. But we saw on Joe Rogan, they're talking about this Fabian people, all this. I don't know who it is, but it's certainly not any good people. They haven't got the interests of our country at their heart.
Who's pulling the strings, Matthew?
I don't know who's pulling the strings, but I think Thomas makes an excellent point. This is just long enough. These policies were so unpopular under the Starmer government. They had to do a U-turn, and we may see them in 6, 8, 12 months make another U-turn and go right back.
All right, interesting. Still ahead on the Late Show Live. Could Benjamin Netanyahu be arrested in America's biggest city? Because New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani is certainly threatening so. But also, still ahead, has Labour seen the light? Andy Burnham could be about to fast-track North Sea drilling. Plus, it looks like there could be a major change coming to the British bashing corporation, the BBC. I'll reveal all very soon. This is the Late Show Live. Back in just a tick.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of sunshine in the forecast today, a little warmer than what it was yesterday for some areas and still staying very dry. There'll be some scraps of cloud in places, mostly moving in off a northerly breeze around any eastern coasts. It may produce some very light outbreaks of rain, especially around coasts of East Anglia. Some light rain pushing into northern Scotland towards the end of the day, and enough heat still across the southwest may produce some showers. They could be heavy, they could be thundery, but mostly hit and miss. For many areas, it's a dry, sunny day, feeling warm in the sunshine, highs widely in the low to mid-20s. So cloud will continue to feed in from the north through the evening, still producing some light outbreaks of rain across northern Scotland, the best of the brightness and the temperatures across southern areas of Scotland. Quite a clear end to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some late evening sunshine to finish off the weekend, and a very similar picture elsewhere. It remains fairly dry and clear through the overnight period as well, but in that northerly breeze we will drag in some cloud moving its way southwards, and still thick enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain across Scotland. But for many areas it's going to be dry, and where we saw a slightly chillier start this morning across Scotland, northern parts of England, it's not going to be turning quite as cool here. Most towns and cities between around 12 to 16 degrees Celsius. Now heading into Monday, there's really not much change at all. Still very dry, lots of sunshine around. Still eastern coast of Scotland and England could pick up some cloud and some very light showers, and northern Scotland will pick up some light outbreaks of rain as well. Otherwise, another very dry day and still feeling very warm in the sunshine. Highs reaching between 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Hope you're well. Live from Washington, D.C., this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. And breaking tonight, another government scandal. The first for Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister facing calls to launch an urgent inquiry into the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle, after his young lobbyist gym buddy, quote unquote, reportedly secured extraordinary access to senior officials. Talking of Burnham, he's set to scrap Labour's flagship digital ID scheme. Has common sense finally won over this kind of nonsense?
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Diplomatic dynamite. New York socialist mayor, well, more of a commie actually, Zoran Mamdani is plotting to arrest Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he visits the city. I don't think he's doing it himself. Elsewhere, drill baby drill. Andy Burnham sets to fast-track North Sea oil. Is Labour finally changing course and maybe listening to the White House?
I think he's a lovely man, but I said, you're really messing up energy. You have windmills all over the place. In the meantime, you have the North Sea oil, and they won't let anybody drill.
And some more tragic news this evening. America's mourning. 2 US service members have been killed in an Iranian attack on Jordan. How will President Trump respond?
To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is?
I'm Ben Leo, and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning to you. Hope you're well and you've had a lovely Saturday. Saturday was the day yesterday. Today is now Sunday, technically. This is The Late Show Live in Washington, D.C. Joining me this evening is my panel, Thomas Corbett-Dillon and Matthew Hertz here in Washington. And in London, we have political commentator Claire Muldoon and the Labour commentator Simon Nash. Good evening, good morning to you both. Thank you again for your company. Right, let's start with the GB News alert. The mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, is plotting the arrest of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he visits the city. In an interview with the New York Times, Mamdani said, "I believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu belongs in The Hague," adding, "He's a war criminal who's been charged by the International Criminal Court." He also said, "Whatever the law allows me to do in New York City, that's what we'll do, but we won't be writing our own laws to that end." Well, Netanyahu is expected to travel to New York in late September to address the United Nations General Assembly. Currently, there's an arrest warrant for Mr. Netanyahu issued by the International Criminal Court for war crimes in Gaza. Let's get the thoughts on my panel here in DC first of all. Matthew Hurt, how would Mamdani possibly arrest Netanyahu?
This is absolutely showboating by a socialist mayor of New York. I am certain there are a number of laws which govern diplomats and foreign dignitaries when they step foot in the United States. I can tell you right now that diplomats in Washington, D.C. are all but completely excused from local laws and are untouchable by law enforcement for the most part. I suspect that is the case in New York City as well. I can't imagine anybody from NYPD would be arresting Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thomas, is it not the case as well that this Trump administration is also going after the International Criminal Court, basically saying you have no authority over us, we're not listening to you? I think there's a lawsuit as well from two US-based advocacy groups arguing the Trump administration is stifling freedom of speech through penalties it imposed on the ICC last year.
Well, I mean, the answer to your question is absolutely not. There is no way that Mamdani can arrest Netanyahu. It's impossible. First of all, the United States is not even a member of the ICC. They do not recognize them. There is no way that he can be arrested. Even if the Trump administration said that they wanted to arrest Netanyahu, they do not sign up to the ICC, so they will not execute any warrants like that. And you know, as Matthew said, there is diplomatic immunity. There is no chance that this man is going to be arrested. What he's doing is playing to his left-wing base, to all of the Muslims that are now in New York City, which, you know, New York is very quickly, they're copying the Sadiq Khan playbook. It's becoming the new Londonistan. We've got to think of a new word, New Yorkistan or something, because that's what New York is turning into with this administration over there. So yeah, it's just ridiculous, you know, and he's out there saying that, and of course he's getting all these clicks. Everyone's tuning in and saying, oh my God, this is great. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. So, you know, it's kind of ridiculous, really. But.
Claire Muldoon, yeah, I mean, it does seem like he's just showboating Mamdani. What do you make of Mamdani generally? And also, would you, let's talk about Gaza, Israel. Why not? It's 3 in the morning or some 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Would you arrest Netanyahu if you could?
In all honesty, Ben, I think the man really has to be held accountable for his actions, his current actions that he is leading his country into over Gaza at the moment. And I think the world is so broken in regards to the rise in anti-Semitism, which is real and present and causes a real present danger to Jews and the diaspora of Jews all over the world. I think that we have to have the discussion, and no one has actually seen much of Netanyahu or heard from him other than the bombing of Lebanon to get at Hezbollah, which I don't think anyone thinks is a bad idea. The fact that the ICC have put out a warrant for his arrest, I think there is, we do need a discussion surrounding what's happening in Gaza. And I think that Trump himself as well has to take accountability for the attack in Iran. And we have to, and Trump, by his own admission, was the president of peace. Don't forget, Ukraine is still going on. Iran is still going on. In fact, we've got 16 servicemen killed already in Iran and 2 killed yesterday in Jordan. So we really need to get discussions. And if Netanyahu does put his feet in New York soil, in USA soil in September, I would rather he might not be arrested, but I would far rather him drawn round a table for international delegates to discuss what's happening openly and honestly with regards to everything that's happening geopolitically. On the word of Mamdani, I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. He is turning into Sadiq Khan, who also, don't forget, has just been made a Labour peer in the House of Lords. And I think that's completely and utterly atrocious. And Mamdani, I'll tell you, the New Yorkers that voted for him, you're voting for turkeys at Christmas. It's awful.
Yeah, well, with regards to Sadiq Khan, I mean, as who is it that famously said, it's all one big club and you're not in it. Simon, in June 2026, President Trump basically confirmed that he said to Netanyahu in a phone call, "You are effing crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass." That's what he told Netanyahu.
Yeah, well, Netanyahu seems to want to expand Israel up to the Litani River in Lebanon. Some sort of so-called Christians in America think, well, if Israel goes back to what it was in biblical times, then Jesus will come back and we'll be all saved because we believe really hard. People in nearby Arab countries seem not really to care about the welfare of the Palestinians. I met someone quite high up in Jordanian society, and I said, well, maybe a solution would be actually give Palestinians, offer them £50,000, a home and a job in the nearby Arab countries, and they'd be free to leave and not be living in this place that's bombed every 5-6 years. And she said, no, they must stay in that land until every drop of blood is spilled, because that's their land and they should stay there. And it's like, well, I think they should have the freedom to move out, and I think Arab countries should make sort of mini Palestines in the area. There's a great author called Nicholas Taleb, and he created this book called Skin in the Game, and he said, well, you know, Iran's funneling all this money saying, oh, Palestinians fight, 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 and then you have America doing the same on the Israeli side and funding settlement expansion based on various ideologies. Actually, so if the people there were left to it, they might start intermarrying, they'd start to trade. And I do think, actually, the ideology of people on both sides, if Ilan Pappé was a Jewish Israeli scholar, he was setting up nurseries for Jewish kids and Palestinian kids to intermingle, because a lot of Israelis, the first Palestinians that they see are the ones that they see when they're 17, 18, 19 in the army, throwing stones at them because they see them as an occupying force. Those people should be intermarrying, intermingling, and I think, you know, maybe a bit of Christianity, a Christian forgiveness thrown in there would be a good thing.
The problem with this suggestion of resettling Palestinians, has been tried for decades, and they are difficult when resettled. Egypt didn't want them decades ago. I think Claire makes some excellent points, and I think that it is hard to thread that needle on television and other outlets about what Israel is doing, the government is doing to the people of Gaza and Palestinians. But when historically, when suggestions of resettlement have come up and they have moved to places like Egypt and elsewhere, they have been kicked out of those countries as well. So that is just a non-starter in this discussion. But I do think it's important that we do talk about the way Israel is treating the people of Palestine.
Should Netanyahu be arrested on touching down in the United States?
I don't think that is a practical solution to this problem, but I think the discussion is worth having on how the Israeli government treats the people of Palestine.
Thomas, I know it can't happen, but do you think Netanyahu has any questions to answer on Gaza?
Well, no, I think the idea that America would be arresting him is crazy. You know, he was elected by a foreign nation, and that's for that foreign nation to be. I think that's one of the questions that a lot of Americans are really pushing for now, is that Israel is a foreign nation. I think a lot of Americans are looking at their country and often wondering, why do we have so much attention on various? Why do we care about Ukraine? Why do we care about Israel, Iran, all of these things when we've got big issues at home? You know, I was just talking today to some gym bros that have just found out the Trump admin is putting 25% tariffs on gelatin and collagen, which is in their protein powder. So they're all upset about that. So actually, look at the real issues that are happening in this country. I don't think people want to talk about these foreign places anymore. We've spent years talking about that. He was supposed to be the making America great again. Let's stop looking at foreign things. Let's get back to focusing on America.
But the argument is, they say, I'm not saying I agree with this, but the argument is Israel is the last bastion of democracy in the Middle East, and if Israel falls, we're next. That's what they say.
Yeah, of course, and that's great. And you know, Israel should be supported, and they've been certainly supported by America and by many nations. Everyone's defending them. But you know, we've got allies with Qatar. We've also got allies with Saudi Arabia. You know, there's a lot of people in that region that we need to look after. But I don't think anyone in this country wants boots on the ground in Iran, and I don't quite see how this progresses. I think the president just came out and said he wants to open the gates of hell. Was his line today. So it looks like we're expanding the war again, and you know. We spoke, he ran as the president of peace. I think a lot of Americans, as we're rushing into this midterms, and I think when you get into the next American election, this war is going going to play heavy. We're already seeing J.D. Vance trying to distance himself from this because they're all going to, the Democrats are going to come after them. They're going to say, you ran as the president of peace and you've started these wars. So they've really got to start moving away from this Iran thing. We thought it was done. We thought peace was solved. Seemed to be back to square one. So they really need to wrap this up quickly. I think the president is very quickly getting over this, wants to move on to other things.
Claire, last word to you.
Yep, that's it. I think, as quite rightly been said, Trump's is not popular with the strikes on Iran. The midterms will be coming up in November. His popularity from the MAGA base itself is down. So he knows that, and he needs to get that, and he needs to ride the wave of the success of the World Cup and ride that and try and get some, you know, maybe stay off Truth Social for a while and stop using caps. You know, and try and take a bit of, you know, a step back. Listen to Marco Rubio, whom I think should be on the ticket for the next presidential campaign, who I think is a very sane, very honest and very trustworthy and very intelligent man.
He can't do it. He can't do it. He'd have to resign as Secretary of State to run for president. The only person that could run without resigning is the Vice President. So it's very unlikely that Rubio is going to be running, I think.
Well, you need to look at what's happened in this country.
Yes,
We've got Burnham.
Only the Vice President can keep his job and run for president. If you are Secretary of State, you have to resign and then run for president. You cannot have both jobs. And forget, he's not just Secretary of State, he's National Security Advisor. He's got like a million jobs. So the idea that this is what I'm hearing from Rubio's people, the idea that he is going to be running is not what he's trying to do at all. So I think it's going to be JD. Everyone's getting around JD.
Well, I'd like Rubio to stand, actually, because I really quite like him. I think he's full of vigour, resilience, and he's got all the leadership qualities that a leader needs. Not that I don't like J.D. Vance, but I think Rubio has got more of the packet. Look, we've just had Farage resign so he can stand again. We've had Burnham jostle out Josh Simmons so he can become our Prime Minister. As Harold Wilson said, a week is a long time in politics. Let's see what happens over the States.
I was going to say, back to the sort of Iran thing, you know, it all comes down to our dependence on fossil fuels imported from these regions. And, you know, if we want our low-cost flights and, you know, car use and not to use electric cars, well, these Middle East wars are going to carry on and on and on. So, as an environmentalist, it's another reason
No,
to
the
get
answer to that is to drill, baby, drill and get jackdaw and Rosebank open.
No.
Yes, yes.
OK, just going back to Rubio very quickly. He gave a speech yesterday or the day before, talking about leftism, and I've never seen somebody before so accurately and articulately describe
communism
what
and Marxism.
This is a couple of minutes, this clip, but it's worth the wait, and I'm so glad that I can, my producer Evan can now bring it to you, because I thought it was one of the best speeches I've ever seen. Let's take a quick look at this from Marco Rubio.
Here in my country, so many people in positions of power have repeatedly dismissed acts of violence and even terrorism as legitimate forms of political expression, so long as they served a left-wing cause. It is why during those so-called George Floyd riots in the summer of 2020, as criminals and extremists burned and looted their way through America's great cities and nearly brought the country to its knees, city governments all across the country simply refused to prosecute the people conducting these acts of violence and terror. It is the reason for the now infamous image, maybe you all recall this, of a news anchor from a very prominent agency, a news anchor standing in a neighborhood consumed in flames. Meanwhile, the chyron on the bottom read that the protests were mostly peaceful.
Well, that was only a slice of it. If you can, viewers and listeners, if you've got some time, go online and see the full transcript of that speech, because he's talking about how leftism and communism and Marxism is about, I mean, jealousy at its core, but also just being envious, and it's all about destruction. It's about chaos. I've got some transcripts here. He says, this is what radical leftism is. It may wear various different slogans and ideologies across place and time, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, communist, anarchist, Marxist, but the fundamental character is always the same, said Rubio. He said it's a poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality, justice, liberation, an overwhelming need to tear down what greater men have built, to wreck what is beautiful and right on behalf of people who are only filled with ugliness and have nothing else to offer the world. Through violence and terror, they once again seek to impose their ugliness on all of us. The old dogma was wrong. None of this is driven by idealism and it's not utopian. Quite the opposite. In fact, one of the criticisms you sometimes hear of communism is it sounds good in theory, but it never works in practice. But that's not true. It doesn't sound good in theory. The world it envisions for all of us is small, flat and grey, levied of all exception, drained of all that is good and noble in the human soul. It's a world without courage, creativity or ambition, without heroes or glory or great causes to strive towards. And it goes on and on. It was, Thomas, one of the, I think, the best speech I've ever heard.
He's a great speaker. He really, and you remember, he has Cuban heritage. He's speaking from, he knows about this stuff. His family are from Cuba. They've lived under communism. That's why he's so good on this. And I think it was a great speech. And he's really reminding people. I love the ugly line. He was saying, that you look at all these protests out there, they're all ugly and blue-haired and weirdos. And he's like, who are these people? Why do we even, give them attention or time? I'd put Zach Polanski as a great example of that. These are not people that you want in charge of anything. You can always look at these people and tell what sort of person they are. I think he delivered a great speech, as he always does. But we'll see what he wants to do. I just don't know if he's going to want to have a big messy, race for president when you've got JD lined up. He's basically already running. He's just did Joe Rogan. He's on the campaign trail already. So we'll see if he wants to go out there and do it. We'll see.
The Late Show Live also had US State Department spokesman Tommy Pigott on the show a few days ago, just talking about left-wing terrorism and just, commies in general. This is what Tommy Pigott had to say.
The far left accounts for more than any ideology in terms of those attacks in 2025. The fact that we see far left terrorism on par with jihadist terrorism in terms of attacks and plots in Europe. This is something we have to address, but then also to re-stress. This is not ideology and then down. This is based off of the actions that these groups are taking.
Matthew, any thoughts on that before we move on?
This is, Mr. Pigott there is absolutely right. And to a broader point, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the far left is a dangerous ideology. We're seeing it in places like New York City and California, and it's creeping into Democratic primaries in the United States. We may very well have in 2028 something like an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at the top of the ticket for the Democrats. It is an ideology of jealousy. It is an ideology of redistribution, and it is dangerous.
She trains at my gym, AOC. Well, seriously, she sometimes we say hello and she smiles.
Well, give us some thoughts. Tell her what
she doesn't know who I am. I don't think she'd smile at me if she knew who I was. There we go. She seems quite pleasant. Anyway, right, let me know your thoughts. gbnews.com/you'll say. Go on, Simon. What are you going to say?
Centre-left perspective, I mean, left-wing people have created the NHS, public transport, inheritance tax in the UK, meaning you don't just have this elite at the top creaming rents off land for generation after generation. So I think the far left and the far right are equally bad. And also the January 5th rioters, some of them are pretty wild. They might not have had blue hair, but you had people dressed up as bears and all kinds of things. So I think extremism without religion, if you don't have that principle of love your neighbour, if you don't have the principle of every human being having value, that's when these sort of ideologies sort of take over beyond religion, and then you end up with these.
I think that the left that built the NHS all those decades ago is probably more so the right of today. I think you have a new.
Barbara Castle and Nye Bevan would be rolling in their grave if they listened to you tonight, Simon. They really would. It's got nothing at all to do with that. Rubio's speech was spot on. It was bang on the money, and it's exactly what we have to avoid at all costs, is the communist Marxist regime. It's ugly, it's satanic, I'd go too far to say, and it's evil. I agree
with you on Marxism and communism, absolutely, but say anything sort of vaguely left-wing or
that wasn't what Rubio was saying. Did you not listen to it?
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's important to make that point, because people often group everything together like these emotional shortcuts. Anything left-wing means you're a blue-haired sort of, cross-dresser walking naked down the high street advocating for communism. That's not the case. There are reasonable left-wing people out there.
It kind of is now, because all the old school libertarians are now conservative. I used to be a libertarian back in my youth. They're now more conservative, because what's happened to the left is the left are no longer the old school left who made the NHS. They've lost their minds. They've ventured into communism and Marxism and all sorts of dystopian behaviour. I don't think the likes of Bill Clinton from 15 years ago, he's doing a State of the Union speech talking about having to remove all illegal migrants. That was the left in this country, and now that's the same language from the right. Nothing's changed apart from those on the left who wanted to take it to extremes. It's not the right who have got far right or centrists who have got weird. It's the commies who have taken over leftism in the United States and the UK. They've lost their minds.
Well, not all leftism. They haven't, we don't have Jeremy Corbyn running the Labour Party anymore. I mean, I think they're getting more prominence in the press. And during COVID, people were scared and they just jump on board ideologies of either extreme. And I think that's the problem. I think most people are relatively moderate and more in the middle. But let's face it, both extremes are more entertaining and get more press coverage. But I think most people are rational and are more in the middle than you might think. I don't think most people would.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sort of, sex changes for 12-year-olds or something, or letting, someone, a man say, oh, yeah, I identify as a woman, send me to a women's prison. But we've got rid of all that stuff.
The Labour government who made the NHS all those years ago, Bill Clinton, the Democrats 20 years ago, would they have approved of sex changes for children? No.
Well, no, but that's now been gone. Those things were happening during COVID and a bit afterwards, and now that's gone back on, although the party has actually gone a bit more towards that again now, but it's gone more towards the centre since COVID and extremes of BLM and burning down buildings and all that kind of stuff with Antifa in America. It's more central now.
Extreme for a little while. We don't do that anymore. Like, what you can't. We're not going to forgive that. We're not going to forget what you guys were doing. In 2020 when you were locking everyone down and transing kids. But you bring up January 6th. No shops in DC were boarded up on January 6th. Look at the BLM riots here. They were burning the cities down. You're comparing these two people. The people on the right consistently are very peaceful protesters. They do not attack the police.
People did die during the January 6th riots.
Nothing what the media said.
Excellent point, Simon. Someone did die on January 6th, and that was a woman who accessed the Capitol who was shot by law enforcement.
That's right.
No law enforcement officers were harmed. And in fact, many of the DC police officers held the doors open and it's ridiculous.
Well, the cops died of natural causes days or weeks later.
Yeah, of course. There was no violence from any right-wing people, and if that had been a left-wing riot, I would have hated to see that.
Is that accurate to say? I mean, there was videos of cops getting beaten
consistently. I could pull up videos today. I guarantee right now in some, probably in Minneapolis or somewhere, outside an ICE facility, there is a riot happening right now. I guarantee you.
Yeah, but from January 6th, to say no right-wingers caused violence, I mean, cops were beaten up.
But they were pushing. There was not. It was not. They didn't go out to cause violence. They didn't go out to fight in the same way that the left go out to cause violence. You've seen it. You went to these ICE facilities. You've seen how violent, how aggressive these people are.
Break my jaw.
They are not. This is not how the right operate. The right tend to be. They're much more willing. There was families at January 6th. We saw it. We were all there. It was a family parade that turned into something different because of how the police reacted, because it wasn't prepared for. To bring that up is ridiculous, particularly to people that live in DC. We saw the reality of it. You can listen to what the BBC tells you. Let me tell you it wasn't true.
Simon, very quick response, then we've got to move on.
A lot of people did go to prison for the January 6th riots. I mean, I condemn Antifa and the rioting that happened alongside BLM and everything in America. We are lucky that in the UK people are less extreme in their views than you folks in the USA. I'd say that.
Well, Anne Widdecombe would probably disagree with that, but less said on that, the better. Still an active case. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live this evening.
To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is?
2 US service members tragically killed in an Iranian attack on Jordan. But how will President Trump respond? He's promising to open the gates of hell tonight. I mean, what does that look like? This is the Late Show Live. Back in a sec. Back to Britain now, and in a significant policy shift, Andy Burnham's reportedly set to bring back new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea. That's despite Labour's 2024 manifesto pledge not to issue any new licences. Well, the move comes just weeks after US President Donald Trump urged the UK to expand North Sea drilling when speaking to GB News at the White House.
Know about who?
The new incoming Prime Minister, Andy Burnham.
I don't know anything. I see that he was, I guess, the mayor of a town. I hear he's extremely liberal. I have had every oil company come to see me. Sir, could you give us access to the UK we would do anything to drill in the North Sea. And they haven't even found what's there. The amazing thing is they buy their oil from Norway, which gets the oil from the North Sea. Think of it. And they pay a big premium. Norway's got now $2 trillion in the bank, and UK is dying. So they should open up the North Sea. It's an easy one. And a lot of good things are going to happen.
Right, let's get the thoughts of the guys in London. Claire Muldoon, Burnham to announce plans for North Sea oil. Combined with this digital ID U-turn, can we give him credit?
Do you know what? I think he should actually give me credit. I think I should be part of that 15 million SPAD payment, because I've been banging on about drilling, baby drilling, up in Rosebank and up in Jackdaw. The money that it's going to bring into Aberdeen, the money that it's going to bring into the Scottish economy as a result of that. Moreover,
Burnham's done good then.
Sorry?
Burnham's done well then.
No, well, it's not even through the door yet. But listen, I think, you know, the sovereignty of the North Sea oil isn't ours. It's not the UK's. It's not Scotland's. It's, you know, it's part of a sovereignty that is not unlike Norway. But Norway didn't sell theirs off. We did. So we have to give us some domestic accountability, some domestic control over our energy, and the relicensing of both those North Sea oil will actually, of those North Sea oil fields, would give us that, Ben. It's essential. And for him now to drop this stupid digital ID rubbish, I think is great. But his biggest judgment from me will come on who he chooses to run his cabinet with him. There are talks of Angela Rayner being health secretary.
Apparently Rayner's going to be the health sec.
You know, so there's, you know, he's not through that. He's not perhaps been listening to me that hard, because I've just come up with the no to digital ID and obviously the drilling of both those North Sea oil fields. Maybe we've got some work in progress. Maybe he needs to up my salary. I don't know. But listen, let's just wait and see. Let's see what's going to happen. But that man needs to drill, baby, drill. And the quicker he does it, the sooner we're coming up to winter, the sooner it will be better for us all. And whilst I'm at it, he has to stop the increase in overseas aid. I think that 0.7 increase needs to stop. We need to absolutely no increase to that. So Andy, if you're listening,
he is increasing.
There you are.
Matthew, even under Joe Biden and the administration here going after green, obsessed with green, they still weren't stupid enough to completely stop all US drilling, fracking and so on. They still obviously realised what they had in the palm of their hand.
Well, they reduced licenses and the ability to drill. There were no new, they were shutting down the coal plants and no new exploration. The thing that many people don't consider is what comes after oil and fossil fuels. We have these immense resources under our earth that we should pursue now, and in pursuit of whatever comes next, we have these resources. We should use them. The United States can be and should be energy independent. There are resources in the north of England, and there's so many opportunities to explore to bring down the cost of fuel. It seems Andy Burnham wants to talk about affordability. This is a significant win, I think, if they move forward with it. But it isn't a departure long term from Labour's ideology, which is
net
zero over time, and I think that is what the viewers and the listeners should be on the lookout for.
Should we turn the countryside into Swiss cheese, Thomas? And frack in Great Britain.
I mean, yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, I thought you meant these windmills. No, we don't want any windmills. The president is very annoyed about windmills. But you know, if Burnham actually goes ahead and does this, I think the president he'll be getting a presidential invite to come to DC. He'll have all the red carpet rolled out. The president will be very, very happy if they open this up. And you know, we brought up there the international aid. You know, fine, if they want to do that, then let's raise money from this North Sea so we have budget to do that. You know, this idea, they keep just saying, well, we're going to spend more money on this, more money on that. Well, let's generate some more money instead of just taxing everyone, which is their only way to do that. They always want to tax. Let's, you know, fine, if they want to spend money on overseas aid, well, let's raise as much money as Norway does from the oil and do it that way. But, you know, I think on that overseas aid, you know, we're talking the American connection here, what that really is they're trying to fill the gap that USAID has left. You know, all of these left-wing organizations are making so much money from the Americans, so it's been sucked out. So if they do go ahead with that international aid, you can expect Oh, Rory Stewart's wife, she'll be getting her $1 million back that she lost. So that's what they're doing with that. So don't think that they're doing, they're going to be funding whatever in Africa. No, it's going to all the NGOs and their left-wing friends. That's what this is really about.
Yeah. Simon, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Andy Burnham is in favour of nationalising energy and utility industries. He's also interested in reducing or eliminating VAT from people's energy bills. Sorry, Andy Burnham, yeah. I do not agree with drilling more in the North Sea. Look, we have so much energy waste in the UK. We have people driving their cars for short journeys. We have supermarkets like pilfering energy with open-door fridges. We need to get rid of that waste first. It's a bit like, the country's struggling at the moment. It's like we've got a couple of gold coins and a bit of cash in a corner somewhere, and we're just going to, let's just grab that and then use that over the next 5 years instead of thinking in the long term. The North Sea has been divided up into privately owned squares, unlike Norway, who created a national oil company and saved the money made from the oil and invested it. Britain hasn't done that. It was a Labour government which suggested doing that many years ago and created a national oil company, sort of separate to BP. And then that was abolished by a Conservative government after that. I think if we do drill in the North Sea for oil, it should be a national oil company. That oil and gas should stay in the UK, and the profits from that should go to the taxpayer and the government. Instead, it's owned by two separate oil companies who will make the money from that exploration, and it won't reduce people's prices, home energy prices particularly.
It'll give us domestic security, though.
Domestic security. We need to get onto renewable energy for that. And if
we don't have time for that, Simon. We need to.
Well, we don't have time to dig. That's a sort of 10-year plan to dig for North Sea oil.
It's not 10 years.
It's not a big tap. It's got to be drilled and
the gas can come straight through.
It can't.
Do your research.
They don't have oil rigs there. They don't.
My God, Simon. Yes, they do.
Somebody needs to start thinking
I'm not your God, but I am right on this.
We fumbled the nuclear option a couple of decades ago. We were going to build all these new nuclear power plants, and then who was it? The Lib Dems or somebody came in and axed it. We could have been like France, EDF Energy, state-owned, just abundant in nuclear energy. They now sell us their energy for 10 times the cost. You've got to think 10, 20 years ahead. And partly, I will say, that's partly the problem with democracy, especially when we have 7 prime ministers in 10 years in the UK, because you just can't get anything done. We should have built nuclear power stations all across the country decades ago.
Well, on nuclear, but Hinkley Point C is being built. Hinkley Point B has had its life extended by this government, and that's a good thing.
Too expensive, owned by the Chinese.
Well, no, I think part of it was financed by the Chinese, but they don't own it. And look, it's ironic because the Green Party's manifesto is actually less green than that of both Labour and Reform, both of whom are in favour of nuclear energy. And I do think that's part of our energy security. Renewables and nuclear energy are the way forward. And it's gone up massively from like 1 or 2% for renewables to around 35% now, and 20%
Ben,
nuclear.
the Straits of Hormuz are still closed, right? We need to guarantee our domestic energy supply, right? We can get gas piped right in within a small period of time. Let's scrap net zero. Yes, we need to look forward to 10 years, 20 years, but not now. We need to take action now. We need to defend ourselves and guarantee our domestic energy now.
Net zero ruins everything. It ruined F1 there.
It really does.
Net zero. They now got hairdryer engines, 50% batteries. It's pathetic. Nothing like the
and then all the water,
engines and races of yesteryear.
all the water it's going to take to store all the energy, all the AI stuff, and there's going to be a blight in the landscapes of St Andrews and Kirkcaldy.
Well, fracking will pollute a lot of water.
We've got to move on, unfortunately. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Right, let's take a quick look at some of the other main news stories here in America. Breaking news this evening, a big one. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been arrested in Miami as part of an investigation into a number of alleged sexual offences. In a statement, Bedfordshire Police in the UK said the Crown Prosecution Service had authorised 38 new charges following a file of evidence submitted by detectives into allegations dating back to 2012. 2012. That brings the total number of charges authorised against the brothers to 59. 42 are against Andrew Tate and 17 against Tristan. The brothers have previously denied wrongdoing in relation to criminal allegations made against them. Elsewhere, the husband of the former House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, has been charged with driving offences after allegedly failing to stop his car when it struck a Tesla parked by the side of a road. And in other news, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, says the Trump administration is seeking to debank illegal migrants as an incentive for them to self-deport from the United States. And in Britain, where 28-year-old Josh Kerr has set a world record for the fastest mile at the London Diamond League. The Olympic 1500-metre silver medalist and 2023 world champion finished a mile in, get this, 3 minutes and 42.66 seconds. And finally, England have won a stunning game against France in Miami by 6-4. It was the World Cup third-place playoff. Kylian Mbappe became the World Cup's all-time leading scorer with 22 goals. But it was England's game in the end, with goals from Declan Rice, Konsa and Saka, who bagged a hat-trick alongside one from Jude Bellingham. Maybe you should have started Arsenal Saka in the semis against Argentina. When you start him, he gets a hat-trick. What could have been? Could have been a World Cup final tomorrow. You never know. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live tonight.
To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is?
An Iranian attack kills 2 American service members. Is the United States now preparing to retaliate because Trump says the gates of hell are about to open? And are we about to see violence in this conflict that we've not seen before? But also tonight, the BBC may be preparing to hit some of its biggest names where it hurts the most. In their wallets, pay cuts on the horizon, possibly. Plus, a royal bombshell because Prince Harry is reportedly pushing for something many thought would never happen. I'll reveal all soon. This is The Late Show Live, back just after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of sunshine in the forecast today, a little warmer than what it was yesterday for some areas and still staying very dry. There'll be some scraps of cloud in places, mostly moving in off a northerly breeze around any eastern coasts. It may produce some very light outbreaks of rain, especially around coasts of East Anglia. Some light rain pushing into northern Scotland towards the end of the day, and enough heat still across the southwest may produce some showers. They could be heavy, they could be thundery, but mostly hit and miss. For many areas, it's a dry, sunny day, feeling warm in the sunshine, highs widely in the low to mid-20s. So cloud will continue to feed in from the north through the evening, still producing some light outbreaks of rain across northern Scotland, the best of the brightness and the temperatures across southern areas of Scotland. Quite a clear end to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some late evening sunshine to finish off the weekend, and a very similar picture elsewhere. It remains fairly dry and clear through the overnight period as well, but in that northerly breeze we will drag in some cloud moving its way southwards, and still thick enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain across Scotland. But for many areas, it's going to be dry. And where we saw a slightly chillier start this morning across Scotland, northern parts of England, it's not going to be turning quite as cool here. Most towns and cities between around 12 to 16 degrees Celsius. Now heading into Monday, there's really not much change at all. Still very dry, lots of sunshine around. Still eastern coast of Scotland and England could pick up some cloud and some very light showers, and northern Scotland will pick up some light outbreaks of rain as well. Otherwise, another very dry day and still feeling very warm in the sunshine. Highs reaching between 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. Some tragic news this evening. 2 US service members have been killed as they defended Jordan from Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks. A third member remains missing. Iran has launched a fresh wave of attacks on Gulf states. That was after a 7th consecutive day of US strikes on Iranian military targets. Bahrain, Qatar and Kuwait came under sustained attack. In Kuwait, a water plant was damaged and operations at the international airport have been suspended. There's also been activity in the likes of the UAE as well, with activity at Dubai airport affected. For the latest details, I'm joined by the editor-in-chief at the Foreign Desk, Lisa Daftari. Lisa, great to see you. Thank you for coming on again. President Trump says he's going to unleash the gates of hell on Iran. What does that mean, do you think, Lisa?
It means the diplomacy phase, for whatever it was worth, is over. Since April, he's been trying to pump the brakes on this war to slow it down a bit, give them a chance, perhaps. He says the MOU was a test, or maybe it was just to slow down the timeline, meaning he knew the enemy he is up against and what their tactics are, but wanted to, again, slow things down in terms of the domestic timeline here in the United States. We're up against, obviously, the FIFA World Cup here on U.S. soil was coming up, and then the midterms as we look forward towards the fall. For now, as you see on your screen, it looks like the United States is trying to balance this reestablishment of deterrence while trying to prevent full force escalation. Despite the president's rhetoric, I don't believe he actually wants to escalate more than he needs to. But now the question remains, what will the Iran regime do? As it looks by the way that they're firing into neighboring Arab states, they do want a full-on escalation, and they may just get what they're wishing for.
Could the midterms, we've been talking about it for months and months, Lisa, you and I, they're fast coming up. We're in July, 4 months away in November. Could any of that halt President Trump in his military ambitions?
It may, but at the same time, look, he will look worse if he doesn't act upon a threat that continues to escalate and basically wag its finger in the face of the United States and the president. Look, the president is in a very, very difficult position. He knows, we know, we've never been in such an opportune moment to go after an adversary that we've had since 1979. They have said death to America and they've acted upon it. Nothing about them has changed. There has not been any regime change despite what we have heard in the past, perhaps personnel change, and perhaps for the worst, because what we're seeing is indeed more bold rhetoric, more bold action, and them staying in power. We know exactly what that means. Centrifuges will continue to spin, and the missiles and the drones and the nuclear program and the proxies and the killing of innocent protesters back at home. All of it will continue.
Yeah, and you and I again have discussed it before about the neglect towards the Iranian people. I argue from Trump, where he now says, or said at least a few months ago, I never talked about regime change. It wasn't in my interest. We've had regime change with a new kind of replacement for the dead guys. But again, that remains front of my mind. Those protesters who gave their lives, 40-odd thousand of them reportedly slaughtered. That's my number one thought in this whole conflict.
Yeah, I think, look, in the first hours of the war, the president did come to the podium and speak directly to the Iranian people and say not exactly that our goal or our policy here with regards to the American position is regime change, but we will attempt to degrade the regime to the point where we can pass the baton on to the Iranian people and they can determine their future and they can actually carry out regime change. In a recent interview with Trey Yingst on Fox News, the president said something along the lines of, we wanted to go in that direction, but we had to pivot. And I'm not quoting him exactly there, but that's the gist of it, that it wasn't, it wasn't going in that direction. But that's fine. I still believe that it may not be what the administration is going towards, but if the situation they create on the ground does actually manifest in regime change, it will be for the best for the United States, for the surrounding Arab states, for the region, and of course for the Iranian people back at home. We're not operating here for the Iranian people or for Israel or for the moderate Arab states of the Middle East. We are operating just for the strategic imperatives of the United States. Now, that happens to align with all of the aforementioned, but at the same time, we have to remember this. if we do not achieve regime change, what have we achieved in this war that makes this war worth the time that we have spent, worth the resources, worth the treasure? You just mentioned the two most recent that have perished in this war. Why was it worth it? Those two, thousands have died at the hands of Iran's regime, and thousands more will die at the hands of this regime. So in order to diminish the threat, we have to carry out regime change. We have to go to the very end. Now, I do think that we should involve the Iranian people. That's what makes this scenario different than anything we've seen in the past. We need to look at them as our boots on the ground. We need to see them as our partner in this war, and we have to give them the proper resources. And that means two things. Number one, that we start, whether it's with Israel or alone in the United States, carrying out mass attacks on the Basij, on the IRGC, so you start seeing defections at scale, so you have more weapons and more military knowledge on the side of people, that they put down their weapons, that you start seeing that degradation of those forces inside Iran, and also start brainstorming ways to get weapons to the Iranian people because they're waiting for them. That's the only way we're going to do this, is to have them help us and us help them.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. If you're not going to put, and I don't think many people would support American boots on the ground, but you're not going to get regime change unless the Iranian people are armed, or the Kurds. That's right. You know, just, yeah. Lisa, thank you so much. Appreciate it as always. Great seeing you again. I hope you're well, and we'll catch up soon on the Late Show Live. Lisa Daftari there from the Foreign Desk. Right, let's take one more quick look at the newspapers tomorrow, starting with the Sunday Times, which has a story about MPs being advised by security services to set up safe rooms in their homes in case of attacks, amid growing concern for politicians' safety. It comes, of course, after the death of Anne Widdecombe. Individuals at high risk, including MPs, local councillors and foreign dissidents, recently received updated guidance from the National Protective Security Authority, which is an arm of MI5, suggesting they set up a safer area where they can take shelter if their homes are targeted by hostile actors. The room could be a dedicated space or somewhere within a normal room, and it may need to be equipped with fog machines and bulletproof walls to delay intruders. That's according to the guidance. Timed indoor lights should be installed, says the advice, to provide the illusion that an empty house is occupied, and bushes outside the property should be cut back to remove hiding places. Thomas, thoughts on this? Pretty grim, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and and I think this ties back to the story that seems to have completely disappeared from the media, is this Farage, the whole argument about Sky News doorstepping him, that they seem to defend and say that that was perfectly allowed. Well, I looked at that as someone that lives in America, and all of a sudden I'm seeing his house on social media, easily found. So I'm like, yes, they shouldn't be doing that to him. I think he was justified in being so angry about that. Sky News seemed to be trying to defend it. Because look at the modern world. Look at Anne Widdecombe. Look at what's happening. This style of old media journalism of going and knocking on people's doors and things, when you're putting that on social media, put that picture in AI, you could find Nigel Farage's house tomorrow.
Well, I will defend journalists on that point. I think it's okay. No, listen to me. I think it's okay door-stopping politicians. Doorstepping being maybe you'll knock at their house, or you find them in the street and you surprise them with a doorstep. What I didn't like about Sky, they targeted his daughter, who was living at the home, who has nothing to do with political life. She was completely off limits. That's disgusting.
Well, and that house is vulnerable now. I mean, I'm sure the security services have had to do a threat, and they've probably had to put extra security in that, and there's more money being spent from the taxpayers. But I have always been surprised at how lax the security is for members of parliament in the UK. When they go to their districts or constituencies, they have no security. There is no security. They go and do these the surgeries, as we saw that member of parliament, I forget his name, who got killed at his
David Amos.
David Amos. Right, and they still haven't really worked this out, because the world is becoming very, very dangerous. And I think the UK, even the fact that our police officers don't have guns, it's getting pretty scary out there. I keep seeing footage of police officers being beaten up and things. So I don't know if we can keep on with this whole British idea of everyone's nice and everyone's friendly. It's not looking that way in England anymore.
I had some serious threats towards my kids last year, and we had to have security for 6 months with us. And there'll be an update on that, I think, next week at some point. I won't say too much more. But Claire, your take on this?
It's such a sad indictment of life, of British values, that this is front page of one of our mainstream newspapers tomorrow, that the police have urged all MPs to take security as paramount, that of their families as well, and they've been encouraged to build safe safe spaces, safe places, safe rooms in their house. And I think it's incredibly sad, because going forward in politics, I want a future where we have got grassroots politicians who know their constituency really, really well. I want the best people for the jobs. I don't want a PPE, Oxford, Cambridge graduate necessarily to run a constituency, to run for what I want, to run for what I need. And this is putting a block again in front of getting the best people for the jobs, because ultimately we're not going to be able to fund this. We don't have our police carrying guns. I welcome that. I think I would far rather tackle crime, tackle knife crime, than actually have to go the other end of it and make sure that we have to recommend safe rooms for our politicians.
Yeah,
All right. Sky, in a statement. Sorry, Simon, I just got to read this statement very quickly. Sky said it was part of a broadcast pool operation outside a property linked to Mr Farage. They approached the property off camera on a single occasion, identified themselves, and the occupant chose not to engage. They insist, Sky, their activity was standard journalistic practice. Very quickly, Simon.
Well, yeah, I think we all agree on this. I would correct you a little bit there. I mean, ministers do have protection officers that do carry sidearms. So, yeah, and just to make it a little bit lighter,
I mean, the top 5 ministers, no other minister is getting that, only the Secretary of State. No one else is getting armed protection.
Well, that's some ministers. Well, good point. That should be extended then. That should be extended then. Yeah, I mean, safe space used to be somewhere where you could talk about your feelings and be protected from people hurling insults. So now a safe space means a bulletproof room, apparently. So. Yeah, little change there here in England.
I wish I had a safe space from Simon tonight.
We're having these conversations in the United States just this week. Supreme Court Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Elena Kagan both said that their security, which is at 4 people full-time, should be stepped up to 12. I'm under no impression that I'm like anybody important in government, but I've even had political opponents who have stalked me to my apartment. So this is, we need good people in government, good people in politics, and this is the kind of thing that keeps good people out of government.
OK, we did have one more story about the BBC. I won't get comments on it, but anyway, the BBC is going after presenters who moonlight, i.e. work other jobs alongside their big salaries. The chairman has said that, well, days after the BBC published a list of its best paid presenters, Samir Shah, who's the chairman, said it was going to factor moonlighting into the deal we do with them at their annual pay reviews. Scott Mills, he was sacked in March. Greg James, Stephen Nolan, Laura Koonsberg and Vernon Kay all earned more than 400 grand each. The BBC's total wage bill was £1.7 billion last year. Many presenters continue to top up their pay with external work such as hosting awards, giving speeches at corporate dinners and so on. So that's some news from the Beeb. Very quickly, what are you doing tomorrow, Matthew? Just a couple of words.
Hanging out, going to brunch.
Thomas?
Fixing my foot.
Oh yeah, so your duff foot. How did it happen again, quickly?
Fell out, trying to climb. I locked myself out, tried to climb in the window, which I've done many times. After 3 bottles of wine, I'm not as good at a climber as I normally am.
Simon, what are you up to, really quick?
I'm going to go to church and visit a boot sale.
Good stuff. And Claire?
Polishing up my Spanish. Vamos, vamos, ali, ali.
Vamos, Española. Viewers and listeners, thank you for tonight. I love you. Great to be back. I'll see you tomorrow from midnight in the UK. Have a great Sunday. For now, sweet dreams. Good night. Mwah. Adios. Ooh.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of sunshine in the forecast today, a little warmer than what it was yesterday for some areas and still staying very dry. There'll be some scraps of cloud in places, mostly moving in off a northerly breeze around any eastern coasts. It may produce some very light outbreaks of rain, especially around coasts of East Anglia. Some light rain pushing into northern Scotland towards the end of the day, and enough heat still across the southwest may produce some showers. They could be heavy, they could be thundery, but mostly hit and miss. For many areas, it's a dry, sunny day, feeling warm in the sunshine, highs widely in the low to mid-20s. So cloud will continue to feed in from the north through the evening, still producing some light outbreaks of rain across northern Scotland, the best of the brightness and the temperatures across southern areas of Scotland. Quite a clear end to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some late evening sunshine to finish off the weekend, and a very similar picture elsewhere. It remains fairly dry and clear through the overnight period as well, but in that northerly breeze we will drag in some cloud moving its way southwards and still thick enough to produce some light outbreaks of rain across Scotland. But for many areas it's going to be dry, and where we saw a slightly chillier start this morning across Scotland, northern parts of England, it's not going to be turning quite as cool here. Most towns and cities between around 12 to 16 degrees Celsius. Now heading into Monday, there's really not much change at all. Still very dry, lots of sunshine around. Still eastern coast of Scotland and England could pick up some cloud and some very light showers, and northern Scotland will pick up some light outbreaks of rain as well. Otherwise, another very dry day and still feeling very warm in the sunshine. Highs reaching between 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me. Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area?
The audience are the best thing about GB News.
Their friends, their family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight, a huge GB News exclusive. More Pakistani rape gang members have been released early. And you're not going to believe how much time they've served in prison, let alone when they were released. Also tonight,
Westminster hasn't been working for people, and it hasn't been working for a very long time.
Right, well, I'm going to bring you some massive breaking news in the next few minutes that is just reaching us here at GB News, and it is a massive victory for the British people, trust me. Plus,
the new Prime Minister, forgot his name. Sternum?
I'm not sure.
Sternum, that's a good one. My protege Ollie's been out on the streets of London asking people if they even have a clue who Andy Burnham is. Also, well, Japanese citizens face going to prison if they desecrate their flag. And we're asking, should the UK follow suit? And a shocker here, British people who bought homes in Spain are finding out they were duped into buying illegal properties. They claim to have been evicted, assaulted, and have lost everything. A good journalist is going to bring us the full report on that. And also, prisoners are flaunting cells on social media, which look a bit more like student digs than a prison, complete with TVs, games consoles, and cupboards crammed with food. What on earth happened to tough justice in Britain? And joining me tonight is former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blakeslee, former Conservative MP Louise Mensch, and journalist and commentator Benjamin Butterworth. And this clip here caught my eye. I'm going to play it to you later. I mean, it kind of is what you think it might be, but it does get funny, and no one was hurt. But anyway, a huge 2 hours coming up. But first, we're going to get your news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom. It's reported Andy Burnham will announce support for new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea when he becomes Prime Minister on Monday. It's part of a series of measures focused on the cost of living, including taking water and energy companies under public control and a new council house building programme. His Conservative predecessors have shared their advice. Writing in the Sunday Times, Rishi Sunak stressed the importance of having a plan and regularly engaging with MPs, while Boris Johnson wished him well but said he hasn't got much time with a public who's doom-scrolling through prime ministers. He also urged him to get a grip on spending and give investors a sense of hope. 2 US service members have been killed and a third is missing in action as they were defending Jordan from Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks. Iran has launched a fresh wave of attacks on Gulf states after a 7th consecutive day of US strikes on Iranian military targets. It comes a week after the ceasefire between the two countries collapsed. Iran's supreme leader says Donald Trump's signature on the peace deal is worthless. Oil prices have since risen to more than 4%. That's their highest level in more than a month. More than 5,500 homes across Tunbridge Wells are facing water supply disruption due to a technical issue at a treatment works. Residents across Kent and Sussex have had several water supply failures in recent months. South East Water has been ordered to pay more than £30 million on improvements by the regulator Ofwat for letting down its customers. The White House has defended the Argentinian football team's right to free speech after they waved a banner which claimed the Falkland Islands belong to Argentina. The team held the banner after they beat England in the World Cup semi-final and faced potential disciplinary action from FIFA following the incident. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has criticised England manager Thomas Tuchel after the Three Lions' defeat, saying it was an unusual decision to play Harry Kane defensively.
Harry, who's been fantastic. I think they perhaps made a mistake when they made him a defensive player. What do I know about soccer? They took the league and they took their best player and then put him on defense. Then somehow, we got to be a little offensive, right? But no, I'm not going to call it. Look, what do I know about coaching? But that was a little...
Well, there's still a trophy up for grabs. England will face France in the third-place playoff tonight. Kick-off is within the next hour at 10 o'clock, while Argentina will play Spain in the World Cup final tomorrow at 8. And 28-year-old Josh Kerr has set a world record for the fastest mile at London Diamond League. The Olympic 1,500-metre silver medalist and 2023 world champion finished at 3 minutes and 42.66 seconds, smashing the previous record, which was held for 27 years, by nearly half a second. You're up to date for now. Have a very good evening.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Breaking news. Digital ID is set to be scrapped. In a stunning admission of defeat, Andy Burnham has confirmed that once he's through the door of number 10 Downing Street, the Brit card, also known as digital ID, is dead. Scrapped. It's binned. The digital ID scheme Keir Starmer forced onto this country without so much as a public vote or even a manifesto pledge is gone before it ever properly began. Let's remember what this was. A mandatory digital ID imposed on every working adult, policed by the state, championed by a Prime Minister who told the British people, quote, "You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have a digital ID." Well, it backfired so spectacularly, he had to water it down multiple times. And the country said no. Nearly 3 million people signed the parliamentary petition against it, making it the 4th largest petition in British history. It's not a fringe protest, is it? 3 million Brits standing up and saying they will not be tagged, tracked and catalogued by their own government. Well, by January this year, Starmer had already realised he'd gone too far with this policy, quietly dropping the compulsory element. Well, now Burnham has completely finished the job. A spokesman said that the resource is being redirected to the cost of living crisis instead. And I'm sure there will be plenty to get our teeth into on the Burnham administration. But for goodness sake, let's celebrate a victory for common sense and British values. And I'm going to be the first to say this. Thank you to Andy Burnham for actually listening, unlike the hundreds of backbenchers who happily applauded it through. Labour backbenchers. How stupid do they all look once again? Whatever you do, don't let Labour MPs take any credit for this, 1,000th U-turn. It's their lack of a backbone that put us in this difficult position in the first place over digital ID. And a few commiserations here. Tony Blair, I'm sure he's crying in one of his mansions somewhere, as well as Keir Starmer, whose legacy is going to be undone by yet another U-turn. And an honourable note to Darren Jones MP, who's been the face of digital ID. How unfortunate. This is, though, a massive, massive victory, a victory for the millions of people who refuse to be bullied into a surveillance state, dressed up and sold to you as convenience. This scheme was divisive from the day it was announced. It was unpopular in every poll that followed, and now it's finally dead. Perhaps that sums up Starmer's entire time in office. This is a victory for you, the people, and a sign to show that your voice can indeed change the course of a government. Well, I've got my panel here tonight. Former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley, former Conservative MP Louise Mensch, and journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Benjamin, I'll start with you. You're a fan of digital ID.
Yeah,
so are you unhappy to hear this news? Andy Burnham's perhaps one of his first acts as Prime Minister, or at least this announcement tonight, that Andy Burnham will indeed scrap it.
Well, like most former Home Secretaries and most of the British public, because I looked up the data, 57% of people in a poll last year said they support ID cards. Conservative voters were the most likely to support ID cards. I think it would have been the right thing to do, because
that poll was taken before the following polls after it, right? That's one of the first polls, Benjamin.
What a strange statement.
Well, no, because I know which poll you're referring to, but polls taken after the announcement of that policy showed a massive shift in public opinion.
I think the opposition to it was greatly exaggerated, and the fact is that if we want to stop the pull factors which bring people to this country illegally to work, and we have a very considerable black market, there is reason to think there are many more people in this country than official figures recognise, because it is surprisingly easy to work under the radar. You know, you have all